Welcome to episode 2 of Meeting of the Gold Mines. Special thanks to everyone who listened to our debut episode that dropped last week. We salute you. Not because you listened to the podcast, because you are actually able to find a fucking episode. Not sure what's going to be our downfall. Getting canceled for saying inappropriate shit. Or the fucking algorithms that makes our podcast impossible to find. But who knows and who cares? We're here now. And if you're hearing my voice, then you are too. There's a lot of other Laker-related podcasts that you can listen to. But how many podcasts are going to talk about stats and eating ass? How many times will you ever hear about the beauty of Dennis Rodman's legs or why Cool Runnings is the greatest sports movie ever made? Think about it. You know how difficult it would be to get a group of Jamaicans to play in snow? But nonetheless, like the late, great Dr. Buss used to say during strip poker at the Playboy Mansion, it's showtime, motherfuckers.
So, last week I started off talking about, I would rather eat ass instead of bun and cheese. Now, I guess I must have been onto something because you know that Americans have stole bun and they have their own version of bun and cheese. KB, did you see it on Twitter?
The bun and cheese?
The American version of bun and cheese?
Nah, what is that?
So I showed you what the Jamaican version of bun and cheese was, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the American version now is literally like a honey bun, right? With like a slice of cheddar cheese.
Oh, that's disgusting. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, that is not even
disgusting.
I guess it's equivalent, not really. Bun is sweet, but it's not sweet like a honey bun.
Oh my
It's
god.
a honey bun. It's a honey bun with a slice of American cheese. Look, I'm all for, Americans stealing shit from Jamaicans, but the bun and cheese, like you didn't need to steal that one.
Try to recreate that, right?
Don't
disrespect.
recreate.
Not even. We can't be disrespecting culture like that, bro. So yeah, I don't.
You took
Honey
it
bun
too
and
far.
cheese? Nah.
First, y'all putting grapes and potato salad and shit. Now this, you took it too far.
But you know what? We're not eating ass. We're not eating bun and cheese. But
yeah, by the way, Rebel, I'm not Jamaican. I have extended Jamaican family. I eat a lot of Jamaican cuisine. Bun and cheese has never been my favorite at all.
No, thank you. I keep thank you. Finally another one. Finally another.
And I don't like curry that much either. That's not my preference either.
There you go.
See, no. So look, this is the thing. I'll try bun and cheese. I'm willing to try it because Zen was like, it's disgusting.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm not gonna say it's disgusting, but it's just I ain't fucking with it.
I ain't fucking with it.
I ain't fucking with it.
But you know what? Hey, but one thing I am fucking with is welcoming you to episode 2 of the Meeting of the Gold Mines. I am Born Rebel, aka Zen. I am at Rebel He Is on Twitter. I got one of my Purple and Gold Mines brothers with me. We don't have the whole crew here, but we do have one of our PGM sisters contributors, Tone. How are you?
What's up?
What's up, Tone? How are you? How you doing?
Chilling.
What's on your Purple and Gold Mine?
That's at T 10 2 N's 3 A's 4 Y's on any platform. I think most of them.
Can you say that again, please?
1 T 10 2 N's 3 A's 4 Y's. Like I said, on any platform doesn't mean I'm actually on that platform or consistently on it, but you might be able to find me. PSN, gamer tags, Facebook, all that good shit. I'm there. Tone.
That is 3 1 2 3 4. But you know what? We don't have the entire Purple and Gold Mines crew today, but I do got my coach, my Purple and Gold Mine brother, KB. He is at KB Brown 222. Actually, it is KBBRWN22 on Twitter. What's up, brother? How's everything been? I know you've been coaching, man. How's your players? How you doing? What's on your Purple and Gold Mine?
Man, I am tired. It's been a long weekend, and we had a good tournament. Actually, to be honest, ninth grade went 0-3. It's kind of hard
Damn.
finding kids who love the game of basketball, especially really right there in ninth grade. It kind of starts like when you're like a little bit younger. But
Yeah.
yeah, we didn't win for the ninth grade, but sixth grade went 3-0. That was a good experience for them, and we're
Now, can
wrapping
your
it up.
sixth graders beat your ninth graders?
Oh man, embarrassing to say, probably. So I mean, it's just like the passion. It's changed. Like the kids nowadays, they don't really we had this conversation before. Is in like you have to want that hunger. You have to
Yeah.
want to win. You have to want to get better every single season. This generation doesn't want it unless they already got it. You know what I mean? So it's just it's a lot different. But all in all, we're getting close to the end of the season, so we can start doing some more recordings. I can get back to doing things with my PGM brothers and and just getting back to doing what we do. So glad
Yeah,
to
no,
do
There.
that.
congratulations to you and your little ones for sure. That's
Appreciate
awesome.
you.
Well,
Appreciate you.
one thing that we did do last week was you know, debut our podcast. We have what 94 episodes of our daytime lake show on Twitter Spaces in the canon, but the podcast is something that we've been waiting for the right time. And we did recorded last week. We had the whole crew, but Poppy Chulo, Mr. Tony Vega, the ball mojito, he's on daddy duty. So is King Allen. He's been working his ass off, so he's his schedule's limited, but
I get it. Trust
that's
me.
a there you go. That's the cool thing about having, the strength in numbers. That you know what we will always keep it moving. But yeah, we got our podcast available, um, on all major platforms: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, YouTube. The list goes on and on. Been getting great feedback. So
Awesome.
yeah, welcome to episode 2. But it's been a week. It's been a interesting week. It's been a nice. It's been a week in Lakerland. It's off season. But some interesting things happen. We're recording this. It is now what 11:20 West Coast time. 11:20 p.m. A couple of hours ago, we just finished watching um, the Lakers' last summer league game. And guess what? We did something that we have not done in a long ass time. We beat the Clippers. We finally beat the Clippers. Like, it's something that there was a period of time that we forgot how to do it, but we beat the Clippers. So now, would we want those wins to come between October and June? Yes. But hey, I'll take a July beatdown. Well, we won by what, 1 point. We won by
One
1 point.
point. Yeah.
Um, but it's been an interesting summer league. KB, I want to start with you, man. Throughout the 5 games of summer league, who stood out the most to you?
The person that stood out the most to me, I can't even front, has been Demoy Hard. He's been doing his thing. He's
Not
been
Maxi?
not Max Christie. The reason why is because we know what Max Christie had coming in, what he had to work on, and we've
True.
seen that the first 2 games. A newcomer coming onto the scene for the Lakers was
True.
Demoy Hodge. The person that does deserve probably MVP for what he's done before he actually got a hip strain is Max
Yeah.
Christie. Don't get it wrong. He's worked on everything he's supposed to do, and I think he's already proven that he needs to get some minutes. And we'll see what he can do in the
Okay,
He
Tone.
did go out a little bit, but
Keep
let
it
me tell you a
rolling.
little bit about Demoy Hodge. So he played for Cleveland State, Missouri, and the State College of Florida, whatever that means. He's on a two-way contract currently for South Bay G League South Bay Lakers. Tonight, let's see what Demoy did. Tonight, 7 of 13 from the floor, 7-11 from the three-point line, 7 threes. And we need us some shooters, Rebel. is we never go wrong with having some spacing and some good shooters. 2 for 2 from the free throw line, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 steals, a +9, and the plus and minus, and overall 23 points. A lot of people have been really high on him. I even seen a couple of quotes or tweets from a couple of our normal Lakers, Lakers Nation fandoms on Twitter, basically saying that, hey, instead of trying to go search through hell and high water or creep on the buyout market towards the ending of the regular season, if you want a guy who you can sign for the 14th spot, if we really can't get that center we're looking for, Demoy should be first on the list. A lot of people are high on his defense, on, like I said, his 3-point shooting, as he proved to us tonight, going 7-11 from 3. And like I said, we could never go wrong with spacing. And a LeBron-led team can never go wrong with spacing and a shooter. I'm just sad he is not a 5, but he is a pretty big guard, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's about 6'4".
6'4", 6'4".
6'4", long arms. What would you say, KB, a decent perimeter defender?
When I tell you this, Tone, and you'll probably be able to relate, when I say KCP's twin, that's KCP's twin.
And allegedly he models his game after Contavious.
Exactly. And he's been doing it since Cleveland State and Missouri. It's a shame that he went out how he did because of the team he had in the NCAA tournament, but he's been proving what he is.
We don't know if he models his game after KCP. Because
no, I think he's quoted saying that, if I'm not mistaken.
Our PGM brother, Mr. Tony Vega, asked him that question in a Twitter space, and within 3 seconds got removed from the space.
That was cold. That was cold. Ice cold. Yeah, it happened quick too.
Broke the man's heart.
That's green as fuck.
He said, is it I guess he was asking him, is it true that you modeled your game after KCP? And Tony got kicked out to space. Now
that's green.
Now Tony is a rude, disrespectful. If anyone that knows Tony Vega, he is just the opposite of decency. So I get it, but it's just okay, maybe there's no truth to that. But
it probably did sound like a troll. It probably did,
maybe
knowing
Tony. But there is another. We talk about spacing. We talk about shooting. There is another shooter that he did have a good game tonight. Maybe he heard everything that we said. Maybe he heard. Maybe he was getting emails about maybe he got too many welcome to Taiwan emails. But this is KB's guy. Now they did give him a nickname tonight on ESPN
on the broadcast.
They did call him, Swider Man.
Bro, that is not okay. Look. Out of everything that happened in Summer League, the person I'm most disappointed with is Cole Swider, because he had so much that he needed to work on and he did not. We know he can shoot, but with the Lakers, you need to be more than just a shooter. You need to be able to play defense. And being 6'9", you can't shoot and you can't play defense or rebound. There's a problem with that. So with that, I understand. I think the ball mojito, Mr. Tony Vega, has always let me know that he's been out with a foot injury. Only so much can be said. So if we do keep him on and he doesn't improve next year, he needs to be cut. Because I honestly think Alex Fudge is one of those raw prospects you can mold into something, and I would love for us to probably keep him.
Well, I will say this. Between his nickname, first of all, Spider-Man has been it's been a rough week for Spider-Man.
Oh my God.
First, you got Tom Holland taking back
shots.
Oh
no!
And then now Cole Swider, and now Cole Swider, he's getting the nickname Spider-Man. I'm just saying that, folks. If Spider-Man's your superhero, you might want to choose a different one. You might want to go to Wolverine. But it's just been a rough week.
Was that true? Was that story true about Tom Holland though?
Yeah, but you guys have to give him grace. He's expanding his range as an actor.
Oh Lord. Oh man. That's so it's true.
It's
Is
art.
that true? It's art. Okay.
He's in a movie. Yeah, he's in a movie, and he's just he's like like I said, he's the one getting covered in web in the web. So
In web. Okay, we'll leave it there.
yes, yes, he's the one getting covered in web. Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
dead.
But yeah, so
Moving on.
shout out to all the Deadpool and Wolverine fans. But so KB, let me ask you with Cole, what do we do with him? Is he going to be another two-way player? Is he just going to get designated to the G League? Is it a point? Are we at a point where we say, work on your skills? We're going to monitor you. Go to Taiwan. Go to Australia, because now tonight he shot well. Tonight he played well. Like
Yes.
he shot well, but the rest of the summer league's been rough. What do we do with him?
This is where I'm at with Cole Slider. I will go ahead and bypass that last year, since Tony always lets us know that it was a foot injury that kept him out majority of the year. If we do keep him on, the times where we bring him up, when he shoots, he better be lights out. He better defend at a high rate. He better rebound at a high rate. Because if he doesn't, there's somebody by the name of Demoy Hodge that's calling his name to replace him. So I think if he doesn't have, I'll say this now, if Cole Swider is not a lock to make the main roster next year, he needs to be gone. He
And when you
needs to
say
be
next
gone
year, you're talking about after this upcoming season.
after this upcoming season, because Tony says he needs a full season to play through and be able to get better. So I do. Do I think the Lakers will keep him on? Yes. So if they do, you have this whole entire season, and then next summer league to prove to us what you can be or what you can do. But I know he needs to be a lot more than a shooter. So as of now, if he can't make the main roster, he needs to be gone. Because I think this year would mark what, the year number 2 you're on the G League. You're a two-way player, so you need to
Right.
do
Yeah.
something. You got to do something.
And for those who don't know what Rebel is referring to, tonight's game versus the Clippers and the win versus the Clippers, he shot 7-11 from the field, 5 of 9 from 3, 100% from the free throw line. He was a minus 11 in the plus minus, but did finish the game at 21 points.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you guys this. Demoy Hodge. Because what I'm obviously we're not going to go through the entire G League. The entire summer league roster. Like there's some names that stood out. So I'm just trying to see. Demoy Hodge. Is he a two-way?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
He earned a two-way. Okay, so he's not. So he's not going to be a. So he's not G League. Because how many
He's a
two-way
two-way.
contracts? How many two-way contracts can we have? 2.
We can have 3, up to total of 3, but we have to fill that 14th roster spot.
Okay, so you're giving Demoy Hodge one of your two-ways.
Yeah, he already has it. Him and Castleton already have it.
Okay, so Castleton has that. So who's our 3 two-way players?
It's Cole Slider, Castleton, and Demoy Hodge.
Okay, now let's look at our players that we just drafted. JHS and
Yep.
Maxwell Lewis. Are they just going to be designated for G League?
I think they will, because majority of the time they're not going to get there. They will be DMPs during regular games. They do have roster spots, but I think they will hone in on their skills for the G League team. So they'll be the main go-toers, go-to getters and point makers, point scorers. I can say out of the whole entire summer league, I am disappointed how the coaching staff did treat Maxwell Lewis, because he has probably one of the highest ceilings on the team. So I'm looking for him to do a lot more in G League.
The thing I will say about Maxwell Lewis, and I understand what you're saying about how this coaching staff treated him. I think Castleton surprised us.
Yes.
I think Castleton created new, more playing. He earned himself more playing time and probably more scenarios for him to be evaluated under. So I think maybe some of the priority to evaluate shifted from Maxwell Lewis to Castleton based upon the play. I think with those 5 players, the 3 two-way contract and our 2 rookies,
mm-hmm.
I think in a year from now, I don't know. I think at least one of them are going to be gone. We don't know who. So yeah, it's gonna be some healthy competition between that young core.
I mean, to be honest, I'm just
Yeah.
looking at it, just looking at it from outside looking in. When we got JHS, what was everybody's mindset? And Tony, I want to hear what you're going to say too. What was everybody's mindset when we were thinking about Scottie Pippen Jr. when we drafted JHS? To me, I'll go first. I was like, well, Scottie Pippen Jr. gone. Like once we drafted JHS, I'm like, Scottie Pippen Jr. has no room. Like he's just not going to be there. He's not because
Who's
you
not
can
gonna be
kind of
there?
Scottie Pippen Jr. because he had the two
Okay,
way. I was like, he's already
right,
out the door. So it was like looking at
right.
that, I'm like, we don't need Scottie Pippen Jr. as of now. So I don't know what you guys think. What do you guys think when that happened?
I mean, I never know. Sometimes I don't really understand the mindset, I guess, organization wise with
Mm-hmm.
drafting. I don't know if we just draft, for our needs. Do we just draft based on maybe the projection, we have going into the future? But in my mind, we didn't need another guard. Even the rhetoric around town is just like, okay, well, we have so much depth. We even have JHS. In my mind, it's like, let's be serious, you guys. This kid is not going to get any minutes, especially now with having a depth of Gabe, Max, Austin, D'Lo, and then worst case scenario, you're looking at Point Braun, or I don't know, Ham and Rob is just gonna find some other alternative, but I highly doubt it's gonna be this, freshman, coming out of college. But I'm with you. I think he is the maybe Scottie Pippen Jr. replacement, but I don't see him getting that two-way. I don't see him getting any rotational minutes, within the regular season this year.
Right, right. And I
Okay.
agree. I don't see that happening either. What about you, Zen?
Well, I was always against the draft picks. I was always against it.
Yeah.
I was just like, look, they're not. We're in a win now mode.
Exactly.
We got a guy who's about to be 39, who also openly said that if there was an opportunity for him to be on the same squad as his son, he will take it.
He's gonna take it.
Which I personally think would be the greatest story in the history of sports. But so it's just like, how can these guys help us now? So, and now we have the conversation to see how crowded G League, two-way players, rookies, how crowded that field is. It makes you wonder that, man, are we setting up guys like a Cole Swider? Because one thing, man, he has a shot. He can shoot. He can't do anything else. But it's just like, are we going to stunt some guys' development by having it so crowded when it comes to who's going to be next up? So we shall see. We shall see. But overall, how you feeling about, like, just if you had to do a broad stroke, a broad paintbrush stroke of summer league, how you feeling about it?
I feel really positive, to be honest. I mean, seeing what JHS is capable of and what he has to work on, he already has the two, how to change paces at an early age. It's kind of hard to teach a 19-year-old who just turned, I guess he's 20, a 20-year-old that only having 1 year in college. Like he can go fast and go slow, and he could just control the pace of the game. The only thing he honestly to me he has to work on is playing on-ball defense and his three-point shot, which I think is developed. Just getting more experience and reps in the NBA. So I think really well. I'm expecting a lot of the Maxwell Lewis. I do think he'll probably get a little bit of playing time with LeBron James and the AD are out. But overall, I think this is probably the first draft class that I can say that we've drafted well because I didn't know we were going to get Demoy Hodge. I did not know that. Once we got him, I was like, yeah, we actually might be onto something. So I kind of like it. I think as of right now, I give it a solid B minus.
I mean,
All
we've
right.
made a couple questionable decisions, but I can say for the most part, for the small amount of time I've been following the Lakers since LeBron's arrival, your scouting department deserves a little bit of kudos. Like they seem to kind of fare well in that department as far as draft picks are concerned. Of course, we're still a little bit perturbed as to who was it? I think was it Lonzo over Jason Tatum in that year? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
But I mean, other than that, look, you have prospects like Kyle Kuzma, Bi, Alex Caruso, the list goes on. Like I said, they've been faring well and pretty good, especially.
Wait, can't hear you, Tony.
Tony went out.
Can't hear you.
I think she might be having technical difficulties.
How about now?
Good.
Continue.
So, but yeah, I'm with KB. I'm just excited. It's cool to see this young talent, especially with Demoy. Again, being a 3-and-D guy, which is actually a
Son
can't hear you. Well, this is what happened when you tell lies, folks. Your mic goes out. Can't hear you, Tony. Well, you know what? While Tone figures out her mic, look, here's something else that, like we're recording this Sunday night. So something that got a lot of folks in Lakerland excited about KB. On Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, it was formally announced that LeBron is going back to number 23. And you know what's funny about like LeBron and these numbers? I look at LeBron, like 23 is like, yo, can you guys hear me?
You're good.
All right. So now what was the last thing you heard?
Last thing I heard was you were just saying 23 about LeBron.
So 23. So LeBron with 23. 23 to me with LeBron is like that girlfriend that he keeps dumping and like he keeps like just like treating her like trash, and then he keeps leaving her, and then she just keeps taking him back. It's like, come on, man, pick a number, and let it stick. But like he has like no respect. LeBron has no respect for 23. She just keeps taking him back over and over again. And like 6 is his side piece. 6 is the one that is just like, hey, yo.
Okay, guys.
Like I do it.
You are anyone who's so wrong.
Exactly. For anyone who is listening, let's provide a context here. Allegedly, LeBron is going back to 23 out of respect for Bill Russell. He originally switched from 23 to 6 to give AD the opportunity to wear 23, which is what he promised him in his first season coming. But something happened with, I believe it was with Nike, who already produced all the jerseys and didn't give AD the opportunity to capitalize on that. And again, 6 is reminiscent of his time in Miami as well. But everyone respectively retired the number 6 jersey in honor of Bill Russell's passing, if I'm not mistaken. And he played and finished out the season with that jersey number and decided had to go back to 23 again out of respect for Bill. Don't listen to Rebel, who's just a jackass.
Yeah,
but it's fun.
Every time he just like, you're like, hey, just hey, what's up? I've changed. I've changed. I'm back. Today. But let me ask you. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, just to be honest, Tony, the reason why I think some people are like, why are you changing back so quickly? Is because when they said he can be grandfathered in by keeping number 6, and he fought so hard to switch it. Why switch it now? Just because Bill Russell's dead? They gave you permission to, no disrespect to, rest in peace, Bill Russell. But with all of that fighting you did to change it to 6, and you instantly change it back like that with the snap.
But he's already such a diva. This would be such a hard hit to his image if he really keeps this when everyone else retired 6 on behalf of this man.
Good point. But
if anything, it bolsters his image even more.
Okay, but this is the part where there is. But I will tell you, there is precedent. Major League Baseball now, LeBron, it's been notoriously known he is a Yankee fan. So he says. Now, when Major League Baseball announced that they were retiring 42, Jackie Robinson's 42 across the league, it was grandfather, same thing. The players who were wearing it, grandfather in. Mariano Rivera, the greatest closer in the history of the league, he wore 42 all the way to his retirement. And he was like, hey, I'm going to uphold that legacy. And then when I retire, I know no one else will wear it. LeBron could have easily kept 6 and no one would have said anything. Going back to 23, it's, to me, it's just like, okay. Now, it was just like, whatever. Now, I will say this. There are a lot of, and Tone, I'm hoping you're not one of them, but if you are, so be it. There are some folks who are saying that he should get 23 and 6 retired by the Lakers.
No,
What do you
fuck
say?
no.
Okay.
Can't do it.
Thank you. That I'm glad, because look, now to the folks that are saying that, oh, he should get both numbers retired, I say that's bullshit, because look, Kobe, God rest his soul, he has both. He has 24 and he has 8 retired.
He's a Lakers legend.
He's a Lakers legend, but also as a Laker, Kobe has had a Hall of Fame career wearing each number. One number he won 3 championships. And he had what, like 15,000 points. The other number, he won an MVP, 2 more championships, and had another like 17,000 points.
And changed his mindset completely to a leader.
Exactly. So he had Hall of Fame careers
2
in
different
each of the
careers
numbers.
in one. Exactly.
So with LeBron, it's like, look, LeBron deserves to get 6 retired in Miami, because he was the best player for 4 straight years. They went to 4 straight finals. He won 2 MVPs. They won 2 titles. He deserves it hands down. Cleveland, 23.
Fact.
Obviously. With the Lakers, I think he deserves to get 23 retired.
I don't think they have to do that. Maybe another chip under his belt, yeah, but I'm not pressed to see him get
Well, if they look at it as a body of work, because what, LeBron is going to go into year 6. They look at a body of work. He averaged over 30 a couple of seasons. He was the best player, finals MVP, won a championship. Yeah, I would say, yeah, it's like, you know what? For a period of time, he was the best player on the Lakers that resulted in a championship. Yeah.
But
I would
Zen,
say so.
we need to take a moment, because that's the first time I've ever heard a LeBron fan say that that he doesn't necessarily need to get his number retired with the Lakers. So, hey, I'm just saying, I'm not with the 2 numbers. I was somewhat like maybe with 23 and what he's done with getting 80 to the Lakers and winning the chip. But I mean, yeah, I don't, the 2 numbers now.
And there are folks.
He doesn't need a statue. He doesn't need his jersey retired. Maybe a couple posters in there that never come down, mural, something.
That is funny.
We can all agree, like in unison with, if he gets his number retired, we understand why, because of his stature and who he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know. I feel sorry for the folks who threw away or donated their LeBron 23 Laker jersey. I know you feel foolish right now. But hey, who knows? Don't throw away your number 6, because hey, he might decide to, go see that other to see that other woman, So it's hey,
so funny.
It's all good. It's all
Listen,
good.
as long as James is on the back of that jersey, it says James on it. I don't give a damn if it's a Cleveland jersey, if it's a 6, if it's a 24, if it's whatever he wore in St. Vincent, St. Mary. If it's a James, you know which James I'm referring to when it's worn.
There you go. But yeah. Well, I know we'll be seeing a lot of 23 jerseys throughout Lakerland this upcoming season. So but yeah, that's fun times. Fun times in Lakerland. Make sure you order that jersey. But look, we got a cool episode for you today. We have we have a pretty dope conversation coming up with Mr. Cecil Williams. The conversation is about what's the difference between criticism and hate when it comes to how we discuss athletes. Where's the line drawn? When do we stop criticizing and then all of a sudden it becomes personal where we're hating? It's a dope conversation. Cecil Williams, he's a content creator. He's also the cousin of top 75 player of all time, Mr. Russell Westbrook. So we got a dope conversation, coming up in a little bit with him. So please stay tuned, and that conversation will start right after this commercial. So stay tuned.
This commercial is sponsored by Zen's Infused Treat. We ship to all 50 states. The person on this commercial are genuine and not paid by Born Rebel or any of his affiliates. They are not pressured to share their experience or be part of this commercial. For any question, please contact Born Rebel on Twitter. PGM is not responsible for any negative comments, monologue, tweets, or mentions from Zen Infused Treats Incorporate.
Hello, everyone. Evan Moore, writer for the Late Night Lake Show here. I'm not only an old head basketball fan, I'm also an old head stoner. I've been in love with Mary Jane for over 3 decades, and a medical card holder for about the past 6 years. I not only know weed, I live weed. So when I tell you Zen's treats are absolute fire, I know what I'm talking about. Most dispensary edibles are designed to help people sleep, not get people high. Zen's edibles are no joke. They even get a hardcore stoner like me high. I have PTSD and IBS, which makes me an everyday user. Now, as an everyday user, the psychedelic effect of weed is very muted. It's practically impossible for me to get too high. I often joked with friends that I'm permanently 1 toke under the line. Oh, sweet Jesus. Now, it's a problem sometimes, though, because I love watching movies when I'm high. That IMAX countdown intro is the shit when you're nicely toasted. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Now, Zen's edibles are perfect for an old-ass stoner like me. So, all these years of smoking didn't go to waste, because now I'm going to help some of you rookies understand how to dose. Dosing is different than smoking because body chemistry can change the effects. Smoking on an empty stomach will give you roughly the same results as smoking on a full stomach. Eating an edible on an empty stomach, on the other hand, is not advisable, unless you aren't going anywhere for the next 6 hours. So unless you're an old pro like me, make sure you eat something else first. Secondly, some things you consume can heighten the effect. Fatty foods help you absorb more THC into your bloodstream, and papaya also contains an enzyme that helps heighten the effects. So just be aware of what you've already eaten before you take them. If you're concerned about getting too high, and if you do end up feeling uncomfortably high, all you have to do is lay down and put on some music. You'll be fine. Don't clog up the emergency room with your paranoias. The medical community is already dealing with enough bullshit as it is. Lastly, start small and be patient. Cut the edible in half, quarters, or even into 8 equal pieces to start with. I know it's hard. These edibles are really tasty. Now, the effects usually take an hour to take the full effect, so that's where the patience comes in. Shout out to Zen for making some good shit. His edibles are now my go-to for movies. Eat them with lots of brisket and papaya if you're like me. Weedaste, the weed in my blood recognizes the weed in yours.
So one of the things that, happened, I guess you can say, a couple things happened this week with LeBron. But one of the things that really stood out with LeBron this week was the ESPYs, And, with his speech, I thought, he said some things. He said, hey, his supporters, he thanked his supporters, first of all, his family on stage. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. That's the type of Black imagery we need more of, without a doubt. Beautiful family. But one of the things that he spoke about is, hey, thank you to my supporters. But he also shouted out his haters. And for a person, he shouted out the folks that hate him. And, I wanted to have a conversation about this. So, we brought in brothers, joining us right now is on Twitter. He's Mr. Cecil Williams on Twitter. You can find him at the letter C Will Poetry. That's the letter C Will Poetry on Twitter. He has a unique perspective. He's a creative. He works in a creative field, so he's used to his work being up for interpretation, criticism, subjectivity. From a sports perspective, he's also related to a top 75 player of all time. And shit, hey, folks that listen to the daytime lake show, you guys know I made a couple comments about Mr. Westbrook, and we're gonna get into that. It's gonna be a cool conversation. Um, as we said earlier, we got Tone. We got the Tone with us. She's joining us, as we said earlier. We'll be seeing a lot of Tone as we record new episode. But Cecil, what's up, brother? I've been wanting to have this conversation for a minute, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's been a busy summer so far, but for the most part, I'm good. Just trying to stay cool in California out here. But other than that, man, I'm great. I'm good.
Man, look, it's I'm in Vegas. It's getting reports. It's 117 today. Yesterday it was a cool 114. Now it's 117. Yeah, I'm not enjoying this heat. But
I've been out there a few times the past 3 weeks, so I don't
oh
think
yeah.
I'm going back.
No. Nope. But Cecil, I appreciate you coming on. Because like I said, we spend a lot of time in Twitter spaces. We spend a lot of time on social media and the Lakers Twitter, NBA Twitter. It can definitely be it can be many things, but also it can be a toxic place.
It can.
And yeah, it can be a toxic place. And that's where I wanted to have this conversation. To you, let me just start off. First question to you: what's the difference from a fan criticizing a player to quote unquote hating?
I think for me, really just from my experience, I think being a fan of the game is great. I think being a fan of the game is it signifies your love for the game, your desire or inspiration to look at the game for what it is and not necessarily look at what was, but you're a fan of what's happening. You're a fan of what's going on. You're a fan of the present as well. I think the line gets blurry when fans hold players or athletes to a standard that they have created, right? That the person has created, or they hold them to what they have done, good or bad. They hold them to past behaviors, past actions, past play, all that stuff. And so for me, I think when it turns into hater territory, is now you're speaking kind of unrealistic, if you will. And when certain expectations are met to your liking, certain people tend to now demonize that player, or they tend to talk about that player in a way where, I'll say this nicely, it runs away from the reality of what happened during the game. I think the one thing that I've strayed away from when it comes to conversations and spaces and stuff like that is I've noticed that conversations aren't really about what actually happened in the game. It's a conversation that leans towards box scores. It's a conversation that leads towards reputations. It's a conversation that leads towards whatever ideologies that we have about a said team or said player, and then we create our own synopsis on who that player is on the court. But nobody ever actually breaks down what happened right in front of them. Like what happened at the game. Like forget the past game or what you think's gonna happen or what they did before or in the past, and that's why they act like this. Like what happened at that game? And I don't necessarily witness or hear a lot of conversations about like the game itself. It's a lot of conversations about top fives, top this, top that, and that's where, like, I guess going back to the question of a fan and a hater, that's where that gets mixed up because so many times we have conversations about a player and not necessarily the game itself. And to me, that's where being a fan looks disinteresting. Like it just looks like now you're just talking about a player because it's trendy or because you don't really love the game, but you want this one player to prove you right. And that's what I'm just not, I don't got time for.
I
You know?
hear you. I hear you.
Yeah.
Tone, what's the difference? Like Tone, now you're a LeBron. You're one of the witnesses.
One of
You
those.
LeBron is your guy. He
Most
is
definitely.
he is what? He is the GOAT in your eyes. Number one.
Most definitely.
Okay, so Tone, why is it that like I have here's the thing. I said this to some folks when it comes to LeBron, right? I said, look, this man, I said this last week in a Twitter space. I said, my issue with some fans, some LeBron fans, stands, they don't like that word. But I said, you know what? I think if you're only looking at LeBron's greatness strictly from a basketball standpoint, like, first of all, the man has said that he is more than an athlete. Um, he built he has a school, like he has his own school, and then even with the school, that wasn't good enough. He was like, "Yo, I'm gonna make sure these kids have housing because a lot of them come from low income households, or a lot of them are don't even have a household." And I just think the work that he is doing from a community standpoint, building the next generation, it's like, yo, like there's no like it's just he's doing the Lord's work, Um and I recognize that. But Tone, how am I a hater if I say, you know what, I got LeBron at either two or three. I got him at two or three. I have him I have Jordan at one, and to me it's a toss up between him and Kareem. Why when that is being said, the LeBron's fans like, nah, 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 man, you being a hater. Like out of the 4,900 players that have played in this league, saying that, yo, you know what, I have them at two or three. Why is that hating?
Because it's more like, why can't you see what I see? Why can't you have the same mindset that I have to make him number one in your mind, in your, frame of logic? So I'm not gonna say we, because I am not a part of that club where I just throw the word hater around.
It's like the male beehive. The male beehive.
Yeah, it's comparable. It's definitely comparable. But I think it's just a versus moment, and then it's like, okay, I'm gonna throw the word hater, hypothetically, I'm gonna throw the word hater out there if you can't provide context as to why you put all these other people in front of, I don't want to misuse any words, but I'm gonna say idolize. Again, I'm not in that camp. I
Right.
idolize nobody but Jesus Christ himself.
Right.
But as to why you don't again have the same vision that I do as far as my fandom goes.
Yeah, and like, okay, like for me, when it comes to Jordan, right? One of the things that I look at is like, okay, um, LeBron, I think LeBron's career and Jordan's career are as different and opposite as any two careers could be. I think you could look at one was like a rocket that, and one was like an airplane that went around the world. One stayed in the air for a longer period of time, and the other one had a touched the stars but wasn't in the air as long. Um, but it's yeah, it just seems like the word hate um gets thrown out. Like, mind you, we look at what during the playoffs, right? We saw like so we saw a couple of Warrior fans, not going to say any names,
This
but during
present
the
playoffs that just passed.
this playoffs that just passed when the Warriors went against the Lakers. Now we're not going to name the person, but there was a Warrior fan that decided to there was one Warrior fan that was saying that he wanted a certain player to get into a car, him and his wife to die in a car accident. And it was just like, wow, okay. Then you had another. Then the popular one was, a Warrior fan, using, you know, trying to compare the referees to the Warriors with the George Floyd, you know, they, knees on the neck, and we have seen fans in the arenas. We have seen fans online just be heinous and evil and nasty with death threats, with just saying a whole bunch of foul stuff. And now that part, there's no excuse for that behavior. Like, because at the end of the day, it's like, yo, this is basketball. Why are you wishing man ill will? Why are you wishing man ill will? That's the part I don't understand. But
Can I
so we're
can I
not talking about that extreme. Of course. What's up?
I think so. You bring that up, and I'll say this: fans tend to first they showcase who they really are. That's number one.
Agreed.
In the midst of their conversation, in the midst of their debates, in the midst of you'll see their true colors at some point, right? And combined with that, I am a firm believer in a lot of times fan bases of a player kind of mirror or copy the persona or personality of that player. So, for example, you look at LeBron. He does deem himself as I'm one of the greatest ever in the game. He's publicly
Absolutely.
said that.
Yes.
So you have a fan base now that mirrors that and believes that. So anytime somebody comes against that, you are a hater. You're a hater to them because now they have reflected what LeBron has become and said. You look at Curry fans, for example. Curry has steadily tried to make sure that he puts himself in the conversation of one of the greatest players and not just one of the greatest shooters. So if you
Right.
notice, Curry fans, anytime you say he's one of the greatest shooters, ironically, they get upset
Yeah.
because they feel he's one of the greatest players. And if he gets 5, he's over Jordan.
It's over. It's
It's
over.
it's over. So you can even look at Russ fans. Like Russ has a very dog mentality, like competitive, take no for an answer. I'm gonna go after it. You look at Russ fans, they're the same way. Like they're very determined and very adamant about no, this is who he is. He's one of the best. Stop disrespecting me. And it's the same persona as Russ himself has.
So let
when
me
you,
ask you this.
yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, let me ask you this. So I remember on the podcast, it was the road tripping podcast when,
Yeah.
they had when LeBron was with Channing Frye, and he was with RJ, Richard Jefferson, and he said, hey, when we came back from 3-1, that made me the greatest.
Yeah.
Now, he also said, which ironically, he also said, and I'm not
Mhm.
100% sure if it was in that same podcast interview, but it was right before. He did also say that, yeah, I'm still chasing that ghost in Chicago.
Yeah.
My question to you, and Antone, is, let me ask you this: if LeBron would not have said, coming back from 3-1, that made me the greatest. If he would not have said I'm the greatest, do you think his fans would be as gun ho and as 10 toes down that hey, he's the greatest if he had not said it?
Yeah, most definitely. With all due respect, so I don't necessarily agree with the sentiment, and maybe you didn't mean it necessarily like literally. I don't necessarily agree with the sentiment that most fan bases are usually a reflection of the player. I think in general, even as far as our conversation tonight, is just kind of highlighting the negative side. And unfortunately, the negative side is usually conformed of extremists, just like in anything. I don't care if it's politics, if it's sports, if it's fashion, if it's just the dark side of social media. It's usually the extremist. I think a lot of people already kind of had that rhetoric more so following the media. It's about the stories, the narratives that the media is putting out there. So maybe not his 07 season when he got to the finals, but by, maybe 2010, his first championship in Miami, a lot of people are already having that GOAT talk, especially even him coming into the league, the next best thing since X, X, and X. It's going to be the same for Zion, the same for Wemby, the same for I don't know, whatever other name you can throw out there that I can't think of. Just so on and so forth of any greats. They're trying to create a narrative that supersedes the last.
You're saying his remarks doesn't affect the fans saying what they say now?
I don't think it adds any fuel to the fire. I think it's going to be conversation regardless. It was prior and it's going to be after.
Okay.
So a couple of things, because you brought up Russ, and I'm gonna get there. I want to get there in a minute because there's a lot there. But I guess one of the things that you said, Cecil, earlier was the unrealistic like expectation or the standard that a player or that a fan will hold a player to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a couple of things. It's like, okay, isn't this oftentimes, and I can speak for myself. So I have been accused of being the biggest Anthony Davis hater. Okay, that's me. That they say, "Hey, man, you hate AD," and I have the opposite. I have the opposite feeling. I said, "Look, here's the thing. Um, so in my eyes, that it's like okay. So now when AD got traded, I remember the narrative that was going on in the media, even with Rob Pelinka and the front office and all of that. And the logic for making that trade when Anthony Davis came here was we got a player that we can win now with LeBron. Okay. We got a player who, as LeBron gets older,
Mm-hmm.
he'll be able to be the number 2 guy and AD will be the number 1 guy. And then we got a player in AD that when LeBron retires, he will be the cornerstone player of the franchise.
Right.
So a couple of things. So when it comes to the AD with the Lakers, I'm like, okay, the cornerstone, like who has ever been the cornerstone players of the Lakers? It's like, okay, you got Jerry West, you got Wilt, Magic, Kareem, Shaq, Kobe, LeBron.
I'll say at some point Elgin, but he played with West and Wilt.
Yeah,
who made it hard.
exactly. I'm with you on that.
Elgin, but he was he was a dog. But to his
he was a dog.
He played with even if not greater players, and so it kind of diminished him just a little bit. But he was
just
still
a little
the
bit
top in the game.
Just a little bit, absolutely. And I think Elgin gets forgotten because I guess he didn't win the ring.
Right.
So he gets forgotten. But yeah, like obviously ultimate legend. But like, so it's like when it comes to like the standard, it's like okay, the standard is like okay, AD. Considering that the team is looking at you to being the next cornerstone player, is it really unfair to hold them against the standard of the other cornerstone players in the history of the Lakers? Because that's one hell of a lineage.
In a way, I'll be honest, in a way, I've always thought it was unfair because in a way, I'm not saying all the way, because yes, there is a standard that an organization should have. So when you step into the organization, there should be, and not just like any organization in the league, there should be an awareness of where you're at, right? In the same breath, when it comes to fans, I've seen where fans will talk about a player, get excited that they're coming or they're in this organization, and there's a standard expectation. And for me, I've always looked at it like, I think we're putting an expectation on what we saw. So for example, AD, he came from New Orleans. We saw what he did in New Orleans. We got excited for what he did, what he was doing. And we assumed, Laker fans assumed, that this man, what he did in New Orleans with before Boogie and with Boogie, we're going to
translate here.
We're going to get that here in La La Land. And because of that, now there's this cloud that has been created of expectation. That is what we're going to get. Anything less, it's a disappointment, or we're going to get frustrated, right? And so, to me, that's where I think things can go left when it comes to on the subject of just fan bases, is when we don't assess. And again, this, for me, this kind of goes into actual basketball talk. Like, yes, we see what's happening. Yes, we see what he did, what he performed as in latter years or past years.
Right.
But now when you jump into another organization, another area, another team, all that stuff, now you have to assess. As a fan, I'm assessing him with this new system, players, fit, all of these intangibles that I feel like sometimes we kind of ignore because we're looking at what he has done and who he is, yes, but you're not marrying that with the reality of what's happening around said player.
Okay. So here's the
Rebel.
Yeah, go ahead.
To me, it's like my counterpoint is, as opposed to what? Exactly what you said to me is just like, I think we would do that in anything at life. Well, unless it's just brand new, built off the floor, unless we're assessing a newborn, what else are we basing our expectations or our standards on? Don't get me wrong, I understand some of them may just be realistic. I get that. Like Max Kellerman will say, it's like my opinion will change as the facts or the information around it changes. Context, like I stated earlier, but as opposed to what? I'll give you a real life example. To me, I thought about, as you were speaking, I thought about like a restaurant, especially nowadays. I know most of the time I find my restaurants via like, social media. So they're going to put out their best pictures, their best customer experiences, blah, 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 blase, blase. So when I get there, I have a level of expectations. Like, I saw the steak look like this on the internet. Why, when I got here, it doesn't look like that? Why is it pink? Why is there blood running? On the internet, it was crisp. It was fresh. It was, well done. So what is this in front of me? What else am I supposed to base my expectation on? Unless it's the grand opening of the restaurant, there's no Yelp reviews, there's no media or marketing. It's just, I walked in for the first time. I didn't know what it was, who's back there, what kind of food they serve. I'm literally starting from ground zero. So what else will we, again, set this expectation or this standard on? Based upon what? Besides the ones who belong in a straight jacket and just make up shit, but based upon what?
Based upon the team of what it is at that moment, what right now.
But like, before he gets there, so before the ball goes up, the first tip off of his first day as an LA Laker in 2019, I think that was, or 2019. What else am I going to base it off of?
You're basing it off of, if he gets there, yes, you are, and rightfully so, people should look at what he has done at that time. Look at what he has done and be like, okay, I'm excited because of A, B, C, D of what he did in New Orleans. Okay, cool. He comes here. The thing that I notice, that just me personally, is that you're assessing something and expecting something to happen without acknowledging the reality of your current team's state in that moment. Systems, playbook, coaching, chemistry, all these intricate things that now that player has to come from where he was to now here. And for the fan, I'll say this, for the fan, I feel like fans don't necessarily always look at that. Of course, they will hold their hat on what they have seen in the past from that player and rightfully get excited because they're about to get that player. Again, this is in their mind. They're about to get that player in this team. Okay, cool. But as you are excited, as you are like, yo, we about to win it all, as you're doing that, I really do feel like there's a certain reality of not critiquing, but analyzing everything else that has already happened with that current team that you're rooting for, and looking at how can he now fit in this set system with this set coach and this set players, because oftentimes sometimes you're going to get exactly what you got from that player. Then there's oftentimes where you're not going to get what you saw in past years, or a different variation of that. It can still be good, but maybe just a different variation of what you saw.
But
now,
is disappointment not warranted?
You said what?
Is disappointment not warranted?
Honestly, that's a good question. I think it's tough because this is just my experience, just me. If you're disappointed in a player and if he underperformed, you have to ask yourself, why are you disappointed? Number one, why are you disappointed? Number two, you being disappointed, again, without assessing everything that's happened, not just with the player, but around the player too, is where the disconnect happens when it comes to conversations with fans. Because I think fans have individualized this game so much that they look at that player and expect A, B, C, D, but when they don't get A, B, C, D, it is then still all that player's fault.
I don't want to speak for you, but I feel like we're just focusing on that extreme delusional fan. And I think,
Well,
okay. Go ahead, Rebel, please.
Okay. So let me paint this Anthony Davis picture. Okay, because
from Rebel's perspective, correct?
From my perspective.
Okay, right.
Yeah. So AD, let me just like how I get viewed as a hater. Now let me tell you how I feel about AD. I feel that there is no reason why he shouldn't be in the conversation as the best player in the league. And then because I'm like, okay, he is pretty much a prototypical big man. I don't believe there's a big man that can keep up with him speed wise, or is as quick off the dribble. He has a solid mid range game. He is the big man defender in the game. And from an offensive standpoint, here it comes. When he's engaged, he's a beast. He has great footwork, inside outside game, solid mid range. He has lots of moves, post moves. We looked at that stretch the first half of December before he got injured, and it's just like, yo, he's not even the numbers that he's putting up. We're like, it's only a handful of players, and that has put up those numbers, and with the exception of Giannis, the only folks that have put up those numbers in the past, they're all in the Hall of Fame. Shaq, Wilt, Russell, Kareem to an extent.
And now Joke. We can throw Joke in there now.
Oh shit, yes we can. Now we're talking about Joker. We have to. So it's, and I always look at, okay, well, I look at who's Anthony Davis's contemporaries. It's Joker, it's Embiid, it's Giannis. He's the perception has been Anthony Davis when it comes to the conversation. And guess what? maybe it's a thing where the conversations that we're having is just bullshit, or the conversations that's on the the national sports networks like ESPN, Fox Sports is bullshit as well. But it always seemed like, okay, Anthony Davis is like one tier below those other three. Now I look at those other three and I'm like, okay, he's much better defensively than Giannis, and like he's much better defensively than all three of those players.
Look, me and Cecil both kind of, yeah. I don't know. I don't know if there's a gap.
Here's where the conversation gets tricky.
Okay.
Rebel. And this is where I take it, I think, where my mind goes. And this
Right.
is kind of where I was kind of referring to. Like, you're saying all this, right?
Right.
And for me, I'm looking at the why.
The why.
Is he like
Right.
this? So, for example, you said we should be, and I'm paraphrasing. I might not get everything what you said right.
On point.
But pretty much it's like he's on that tier. I'm looking
Right.
at, okay, he's on that tier. Why? I'm looking at, okay, well, throughout his whole career, if we have noticed, he's always had a above decent point guard to feed him the ball. He's been comfortable with that. Even New Orleans, he had Rondo. He had other players or point guard to give him facilitate the ball. So look at that. I look at also the plays that was ran in New Orleans versus now in LA. There was more spacing in New Orleans than now he's with the team that he is now. Also, yes, he's older. He's a little more heavier. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of stuff happening. And I'm gonna say this as a side note. I think he's one of the best weak side defenders. I do not think he's one of the best one-on-one big man defenders at all. But I do think I think weak side, yes. Nobody can be on his level when it comes to that. But aside from that, I just, again, like when you say those things, and not just you, but in general, when those things be said, I take a step back and I look at what I know. I'm like, okay, well, why is this happening? It's not a bad thing. It's just certain thing has to happen for that player to be great. It's not just him. And that's what I was saying was like, I think we individualize how we talk about the game so much that other factors don't weigh heavy.
Okay, but isn't the individualization a byproduct of what the NBA has done? Like since that last
any team sport.
Well, NFL has always consistently made it where the shield is number one. Like they've consistently made it about the shield. The NBA has been more driven on individual players, star power since that last TV contract where it was like, okay, they kind of individualized the sport. Don't you guys think that could have been a byproduct? Like even look even now.
What does that have to do with? Okay, but here's my question back to you.
Yeah.
What does that have to do with my basketball knowledge and how I critique or analyze said player or game? If you want to market whatever the league is doing as far as how that is, that's fine. But if you're saying that now because of that, it has allowed fans, it's let fans to believe that let's look at one player. I feel like I'm confident in saying like that's not true at all. Like them marketing or individualizing the game via marketing, business deals, highlighting players, stuff like that has nothing to do with how I look at the game. Now, if that's the case, now if the only way I'm influenced in that nature to now look at the game as from an individual type of lens is, that sounds harsh, but it's the only way I'm gonna look at that is if I don't necessarily have a lot of knowledge of the game myself, right? Like that's the only way I can see how a person can just look at the game and just look at that one player and be like, aha, see, this is why the game went this way, south, northwest, whatever it is.
So if a star or your favorite player underperforms, expectation or not, they just underperform.
Again, for sure. I'm not. No. Okay. Yeah, for sure, 100%. I'm not even ignoring that. Like, if a player underperforms, then if he was trash a certain game, he's trash. Like, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But I think oftentimes though, because two things can be true. I think oftentimes though, as much as we're saying this player was trash this game or the past 10 games, he was throwing up bricks and blah blah blah. Oftentimes, then we have to take a step back and be like, okay, in those games what happened, why. Because oftentimes it's not just a player just sucking. Like, there's some other intangibles, other stuff that happened that I'm sure we can all attest to, even watching the Lakers last season, of reason why said player didn't fulfill whatever it is during that game. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people blame Ham. A lot of people can blame Beverly when he was on the team.
D-Lo during the playoffs.
D-Lo, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many other things.
Right.
And like, there's a couple games where even I can remember, I just forgot AD. AD had a horrible couple of playoff games.
Yeah.
And people just drilled him. You know what my response was? I'm like, well, who's feeding him the ball? How come he's not getting the ball in the proper spots? Like, that's just me. Like, that is where I go.
I get you, but it's like the reason why I'm pushing back on you so hard, I think it's because I don't know, everyone, especially just generalizing the topic right now, everyone doesn't approach these things with a certain level of intricacy. I think even us as a collective put certain standard and expectation on fan. You have to realize before anything else, and this is kind of like a snide shot at KD a little bit too. It's like before a hooper, I'm not a hooper. I'm a fucking fan. It is a source of entertainment to me, just like Modern Family is, just like Spider-Man is, just like whatever I choose to put on the TV. Sports is one of my preferences.
Shout out to Tom Holland.
So before I put on my glasses, before I go figure out the X's and O's and stuff, it is a source of entertainment. Coming into, especially as I would say, a newer fan, you start off your infant stages, you pick a player, you say, hey, I like that guy. And you start watching that guy. Then you start watching the guys against him. You start watching the team around him, things of that nature. And maybe your love for it actually grows, or maybe you stay mundane.
No doubt.
Maybe you stay just a basic fan who likes to flip it on and be entertained, by any means necessary.
But Tone, a lot of people aren't willing to say what you said, though.
I get that.
You legit.
I know ball.
You have a lot of content creators, big followings. Amazing.
I get that.
Will argue down. And yes, I'm highlighting that space. You argue down an actual player about why they're wrong. Like, it behooves me that sometimes people kind of lose the reality of, yes, where they're at, and I guess lose the meekness behind their analysis and understanding, like, hey, I'm a fan of the game first. I may not know the ins and outs. I may not know all this stuff. But when you start talking about certain things as if
you're so
this
sure
is what it is and nothing else, especially if you get, I won't say confronted, but you enter in a conversation with people who are professional, have credentials, all this stuff, and you use that as a way to make sure that you're right and they look stupid. That to me is just disrespectful at that point, because it's like, well, who are you? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why? If I'm in the situation, I'm in this, and you're trying to talk about it from a third party perspective, and it's like, well, what good is your perspective if you're not willing to jump in the boat with me so we can talk about this together? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's always combative, and basketball conversations all the way down from media to even players, like, it's gotten to the point where it's like it's combative and not actually for the betterment of growing the game.
I get that.
And growing your knowledge.
I get that. And Rebel, again, before you go, again, while I'm trying to normalize it, again, even the extremists, I don't agree with their approaches and, maybe the verbiage they use and how they go about expressing their fandom. But again, just to normalize it, raise your hand if you do that when it comes to politics. How many people of color, Obama didn't do anything for Black people. Me personally, I am not strong in politics, so I can't say what he can or cannot did, but I can give my opinion as a, I'm going to use fan loosely, but as just a regular day-to-day American citizen. I'm going to say he didn't do this, or I didn't see this change. Same thing I was going to say, let's relate it to our real life relationships. Going back to kind of the beginning of our conversation. How many of us met a partner, a significant other, or a love interest who, okay, they seem to fit the mold in this bill, but maybe now the time came, you're expecting them to show this strength and it's a weakness. And sometimes you're not understanding. You're like, but it's just this. It's something as just as simple as this. Why don't you get it? You know what I'm saying? Until, maybe, hey, do you have the amount of love enough to go through the X's and O's to hear, the opposing party standpoint to try to gain an understanding? You know what I'm saying? Does it require a little bit of pushback sometimes, a little bit of a debate, a little bit of a conversation? Like you said, it is up to the fan to want to learn or to listen or be open for criticism or open to just being wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I understand a lot of the extremists don't, but again, on a mundane level, it's like, I don't know if we can expect that. The same level of expectation we don't necessarily want to be put on these players because, they're humans. Even as players, they're humans. They can have their good days, their bad days. They can fit into a system, not fit into a system. I think same thing with fans. It's like some of them, they're going to beat their chest, and then some of them will be regular.
Yeah.
I think it goes with it, though. I think you kind of need it. I think it's what creates I don't know if I want to use the word marketing, but it creates that general like centralization, like, oh my God, I need this. And again, why kind of take those that small shot at Katie or the small strays, because often one of his arguments is like, first of all, I'm a hooper, like this is what I do, and then second of all, it's like, okay, well, why don't you go get a life type thing? It's not always, I think he's matured a little bit more and being able to take a lot of criticism a lot more. And I know his pushback is, who are you and what do you know? But we can say that about anything. As a woman going to the mechanic, I'm going to push back. I don't know shit about cars, but I know I can easily get taken advantage of. I know you're going to really have to make sense to me before I pay you all of this money. I know that. But I know I don't know shit about cars. You know what I'm saying? I think it creates a level of balance. I don't want it in regular day-to-day society. Of course not. But it's something as just an entertainment aspect, especially because most of us get to hide behind a screen. It's just like, these people, they're delusional, and we know that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think like to Katie's defense, like he's always been a person that's very, very sensitive when it comes to like, if you don't know me, know nothing about me,
right?
Or
don't speak on me.
Just don't like, and not in the manner of like, don't speak on me or speak on my game. It's just people, to his point. Well, from even conversations that he has had with close circles, it's like critiquing the game and talking about his play is fine. Like it's fine. But when you get to the ocean of now, I'm saying this and this is right and this is what it is, that's what he has a problem with. Like,
I get that.
Don't talk about my game as if I'm not the player you're talking. Like, hello, I'm that nigga that you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? And so his whole stance was more so, and still is really, it's more so like, if you want to know more or if you want to inquire about what's going on, how about pose it as a more of a question than just the stance of, well, this is what you're doing, and no matter what you say, this is what it is. When it's like, wait, what? Like, I'm in the game. I'm playing the game. Like, I can fill you in. If
can
you really
I ask you this real quick?
Yeah.
Do you think he can be wrong too sometimes? Sometimes unless, I'm sure he analyzes his own film, but sometimes like, okay, I play team sports sometimes. Okay, my coach will have to say, my teammates will, all of us will be like, no, that's not what happened. But the coach will say, look, this is what you're doing. You think you're doing this, but this is what you're doing.
For sure. I think there's a, how can I put this? Even the example of players watching film when they talk amongst their peers. And I think this is any profession. Like, I'm talking amongst my peers because they understand what I'm doing.
That makes sense.
I can only talk to them because we here. They feel me, I feel them. But the moment I get if I can be honest, the moment I get a Twitter host or a space host to tell me about as if you're my peer
and you on the court with
field, that's where
I get that.
This is where like his attitude of you can't tell me nothing. I actually vouch for that because it's not in the matter of you can't tell me nothing, like you really can't tell me nothing. It's hard for you to tell me something that you're literally not in the battlegrounds with me with.
That makes a lot of sense.
You're telling me a stat. Okay, cool. Tell me the stat. But that's all you can do.
Yeah.
Is tell me the stat.
So
Yeah,
okay, so here's man, you guys been cooking. That's why I just chilled for a while. But here's the thing. Okay, so you're talking. So you said, Cecil, you're not in the battlefields with me. Okay, now
yeah.
we, because of these social media platforms, um, a random guy can have 250,000 Twitter followers. He can put up hey, KD is not top 5, but his platform is so big that guess what? KD shows up. Now,
Yeah.
here's the part where I wonder if there's a slippery slope because we look at the awards. So I guess we'll just be specific to basketball. We look at the awards. They're the guys who vote on who's going to get MVP or Defensive Player of the Year or like any of these awards are also guys that are not in those battlefields with them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, hold on. I'm just a simple journalist. Probably never even made my high school team, but I'm a simple journalist. But my vote, I got an all star, I got a MVP vote. So not only does nowadays with the supermax that if a guy gets an MVP, that's one of the qualifiers for him getting a supermax. So for a guy that's not in the battlefields with you, they can influence your paper. They can also add to your legacy because we all know that when the guys retire, MVPs, all stars, all of that counts towards a legacy.
Matters.
It seems to be cool when it's praise, but then when it's criticism, hey, you're not qualified to speak to me. I'm just wondering where's that line is drawn.
I think all players honestly carry a sense of not just criticism, but the understanding that praise from said person. I mean, let's just say a guy on Spaces, he praises him for, I don't know, having a great game, whatever. Like at the end of the day, we know if I'm a player in the league, I know what I know. I know what I did. So your praise or even critique doesn't necessarily affect me per se. And I think players sometimes have an issue with people who have built platforms off of what you're saying. It's because that to me that's different from a journalist or a media person who has credentials in the field to talk about a said sport, said player, all that stuff. It's different than a person who has built a platform, built an audience off of being a certain way. Like that's what players don't like. Like you've built a platform. There's another reason why people don't like Skip Bayless. Like people,
the main person came to mind.
You've built a platform not because. How can I say this? Not because of necessarily of your credentials and really like exercising that. You've built a platform because you bash people's play and you also disrespected them in some way, shape, or form. That is what people don't like. That's what athletes don't like.
Yeah.
People respect. I'll bring up another one. Stephen A. People, some people like him, some people hate him, whatever. Most players, athletes love him because he doesn't necessarily build his platform off of bashing people. He started from his credentials. He's always talked about it. I got my degree. I'm this, I'm that. So that's where that came from. This is where my knowledge comes from. That players respect that than for you to just be some loudmouth. Because I guarantee you, and if you notice this, a lot of athletes, you go basketball, I'll stick to basketball. NBA athletes, if you notice, don't connect or are not cool with, if you notice, a lot of quote unquote loudmouths or people who just kind of like
dramatic kind of, yeah.
You'll never see an NBA player connect or have a friendship with those people. But I can tell you this, Stephen A has plenty of connection in NBA. Why? Because there's a certain integrity about it. There's a certain integrity about it. You know? And
I'm with you.
So yeah.
Sorry, kind of to like Rebel's point though, Cease, if you don't mind me shortening your name.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a nickname kind of girl.
No, people can't pronounce Cecil a lot of times, so they do shorten it.
But at the same time, don't dodge the question. Rebel's saying, but how come you don't really hear them complain about it? Complain the same praise I give you, complain about it. You know what I'm saying? Don't just complain about the over dramatic ones or over performative ones or the ones that have nothing but negative things to say. So what about the one who meat rides you? Like, I don't know. I never heard Jordan speak on anyone who speaks on him. But for instance, Skip loves you so much. You know what I'm saying? So what if there was a placement for Jordan or even like Tom? I haven't really I heard Tom probably had like one quote on some radio show kind of going off on, you know, like negative criticism. People who kind of like are giving it to him strong or real raw. But Skip loves Tom too, you know, so where's the vitriol for that? Take this guy off the air. He doesn't know he talks about. All he does is praise me. All he does is exalt me. All he does is pedestalize me. I never see that. I never see that.
To be honest, I don't, and this is just maybe just from my experience, I don't really see, I don't necessarily, in general, I don't necessarily see a lot of media members for a long time or just for long spaces in their shows or whatever, just praise a player like for a very, very consistent time, long time like that, because just my opinion, it's more, I guess it's more popular. It's more attractive to criticize.
Controversy sells.
It's more. It's that.
Exactly.
So
the truth is always a lot better than. I mean, the lie is always a lot better than the truth.
Players, do they appreciate praise? Sure, but I'll be honest. Players don't really necessarily always hear it a lot because the space that is given is always negativity. Always this. Like you can go from Ben Simmons all the way to LeBron.
I get that.
Like that's all they hear.
I get that.
So when you have circles, this is why a lot of players, almost all players, have circles. They have those like, hey, don't let nobody hear about this, whatever it is. Excuse me, because everything that they do somehow, some way turns into either a debate or turns into something that's deemed as negative all the time. You can go any athlete. There's no athlete that is resolved from criticism. So the problem is the criticism it's lasting longer than it should be.
I get
so
that.
It's not, so the praise, you're right. Like there are players don't acknowledge the praise like that, or they don't be like, yes, praise
shout out to that guy.
You know what I'm saying? They're not going to do that. But I think so many times every day, the praise gets drowned out from something negative. Something.
Well, no, you're absolutely right, but
Rebel, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was going to give these two quick examples real quick. Again, of just basically what we just talked about. So one would be Giannis, for instance. I kind of was looking up a little bit of history with Malika Andrews. Since that little, I guess it was like a viral YouTube video. I don't know. I'm not that connected to social media, but I know for a little while she was trending because someone, you know, with their platform, including Kwame as well, kind of went in on her about the way, you know, she handles her her journalistic career, if I'm saying that correctly.
Yep.
So an example was Giannis, I think, post 2019 playoffs. They lost their last game.
Yeah.
I think it was against Boston. And she asked him a question. It wasn't a bad question or anything, but he chose to walk off the podium. And allegedly, it was due to an article she wrote, I think, right before that game, alleging that, he wouldn't want to stay in Milwaukee if they didn't get a, somewhat of a guaranteed finals run. But, I don't know to that Milwaukee beat writer who probably never, created a story like that or had anything bad to say about Giannis. He's never walked off the podium, on any other reporter, just happens to be her because of that article. My second example would be Russell. I remember vividly during his tenure as a Laker, most of the time, well, I don't even want to just attribute it to just his tenure as a Laker. Russ, as long as I kind of watched him a little bit here and there, and followed him, he's never been like a really pro media guy. He tends to usually have like dry or like really neutral type of energy or attitude towards the media for the most part, not his fans. One thing I will say about Russ, he seems to be real deal with his fans, tries to be connected, in person and things of that nature. But during his Laker tenure, I don't remember what game or what the scenario was. This, I would say foreign reporter, I think she was of Asian descent, and she kind of started going in a positive way about his game and how acrobatic he is. And I think he had like a small feat that game, and he was really impressed. He was really lively. But keep in mind, his Lakers tenure, he was in the midst of a lot of negativity. And
I remember there was a young reporter from college. I think she was still in college at the time.
Okay.
And she was in the presser, and she asked that question. Yeah, I remember Russ perked up and was like, "Oh, thank you." So
right. And I just saw his attitude so bubbly and things of that nature.
Yeah.
I will admit, as a I don't know, fan, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to label me, right then at that time with that certain situation, I was a little annoyed. I was like, so this lady kind of, to me, is showing not bias literally, but it's like, okay, she's giving you pro fan, she's giving you, I'm pro Russ, so you're bubbly, you're lively. But everyone else is like, let me have an attitude, let me have, give you short answers, let me, he tends to be aggressive at times, like, or why would you ask me that? Or, well, I don't know, you're asking me, why don't you run up the numbers? You know already, so why are you asking me? And again, we're all human, we tend to do that. Our parents is like, well, damn, mom and dad, I got a D one time. Why do we have to have a whole conference about it? No one has a conference about my A's. We're not throwing parties for my A's, but we want to have a whole conversation about a D. I get that. But again, it's just so, like Rebel said, it's just, where is that line? Again, as a human, it's hard to maintain a consistency, period. Ron's 2011 exit too. Oh, well, I'm just going to go back home and be a dad. And that has nothing to do with the 9 points you just put up, bro.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
So
go ahead, Cecil. I'm going to answer that real quick, and I'm going to give it back to you. One of the things that I loved about the young lady was she read the room. And the one thing that I learned, so here's the thing. So with me, I graduated with a degree in communications and minor in journalism. And so, because when growing up, for me, I wanted to be a sports writer. I fell in love with newspapers. My first thing I read was not a book, it was a newspaper. And so,
same
with that, like growing up and as an adult life, the one thing I learned when it comes to journalism is, even though you want to ask the burning questions, what if everybody else beats you to it? And sometimes you have to switch it up. And as a reporter, it is your responsibility to also read the room as well. And considering all the crap that was going on at that time. And if you want the player to give you the best answer, in that moment, that young lady, because I remember we talked to her after that, it was more so of, yes, pointing out the facts. Yeah, top 75, all this, blah, 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 whatever. You're pointing out the facts, but you understand that player has emotions too. That player obviously knows the room too. And so because of that, she went about it in a different way of asking a question. That was what provoked Russell's
A
emotions
good response. A
to
positive
cheer up
response.
because now you're getting a better response out of me. Like, considering what was going on, you're gonna get probably a robot response, but because you have now affected my mood, you're probably gonna get a better response out of me. That's my job as a reporter. I want the best out of you, just like we want as fans the best out of that player. The media has a responsibility too, and so I think when it comes to media and just players and that relationship, players have a very good memory of who's in the room.
Yeah.
And so the one thing you cannot do as a reporter, as a media person, journalist, is do not get on their bad side with a question that you, especially if you know you may not get the answer you want, because they will remember it
I
every
get that. Humanly,
single
we
time.
usually tend to remember the negative.
Malika Andrews with Giannis, Nick
Yeah.
Friedel with Kyrie,
Yes.
several with Russ. Like it's been, there's always, you can tell always the people that they're not going to be fun with, and that's okay, because I don't think players should get a bad rap for that, because that's not their fault. Like, the media and journalism, those are people that are responsible for their questions, responsible for setting that environment for them to answer properly. But if you're not comfortable or not satisfied with the answer they're giving you, then you need to, one, again, look at what's around you. How do they do during that game? What is their mindset like? And then two, what was your intentions behind your question? So a lot of those things played a part. But yeah, no, I do definitely agree. Like,
no, you just taught me something. I get that. You just taught me something.
I definitely feel like players kind of get a bad rap when it comes to media, because it's not because they just are moody and just don't want to answer. They like answering questions. Actually, like, they don't mind the media. It's when you undermine them and you feel like you know better, because you're trying to. The thing I tell people, especially when it comes to content creation and in just communications, is be looking forward to telling the truth instead of just telling a story. And if you're so willing to make sure that you want to get a story out instead of getting the truth out, then that's where we can't connect. That's where I can't answer your questions, because you want a story to push out.
So, okay, so talking about Russ, because I want to rewind for a little bit now, because with Meeting of the Gold Mines, we are on episode 2, available on all streaming platforms. We talk about things from the Laker perspective, and so with Russ, 2 seasons with the Lakers, um, I think we can easily say the tenure with the Lakers was very polarizing.
Mm.
We can even say dramatic. And when I use that word, I'm not pointing a finger. And it's now I will like, so the Russ thing. First of all, let's just lay it out there. Top 75 player in the of all time. What 2017 MVP?
Yes,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah, 2017 MVP.
2017, you said?
Yep, 2017.
Oh, shit.
He normalized the triple double. I know one of my favorite memories, NBA memories ever. It has to be the 2020 game.
Yeah.
Dope as fuck. But you know what?
Mhm.
To me, I don't even think that's like what I admire about Russ the most. First of all, the stuff that he's doing in the community. Just like even still in OKC, like what it says a lot about Russ how much folks in OKC speak so highly of him, even though since he left OKC, he's been on 4 different teams. But to them, it's not a distant memory. They still what Wizards, Rockets, no particular order: Wizards, Rockets, Lakers, Clippers. So, but they speak so highly of him. It's not like a distant memory. It's not like, oh yeah, he used to be here years ago. No, they still speak so
Yeah.
highly of Russ. I think also another thing that I admire about him even what he's doing in fashion. The fact that he's challenging. He's challenging. First of all, he's really into fashion,
Yeah.
but when it comes like the whole toxic masculinity shit, he just threw that out the window. A
Yeah.
lot of things that we as black men felt was taboo, or no, he's throwing all of that shit out of the. He's not living in a box, and I
Mhm.
admire the fuck out of him regarding that.
Mhm.
Now, a few months ago, I made a stupid comment. I made a stupid comment on Twitter. Now, the context was, um, you know, he got traded off. He got traded from the Lakers. And when he did the buyout, got signed to Clippers. Um, believe their record, like I believe they went 0-5 the first 5 games. Right? I think it was like 0-5. And so I was like, damn, it's like the mildew of the NBA. Just dirty up the Lakers locker room. Now he's screwing up the Clippers. And see, so to your credit, you handled it with class. You hit me up directly. I'm like, yo, really? Mildew? And I will say this. I think I was looking at it from a comedic standpoint. I was
Mhm.
looking at it strictly also from li- my perspective is this. And
Mhm.
like I said, it may be wrong, and I'll accept that. I'm looking at Russ like, you know what? Yeah, is he in the top 10% uh of the players in the NBA of the 450? Is he top 10%? Absolutely. No doubt. No doubt about it. So, if you're in the top 10% of your industry, like you're an elite. So I'm like, okay, I'm judging him off of his elite status. I'm judging him off of what I have seen him do. And like I said, I also made a jackass comment. I own it. I will stand on it. But the thing with Russ that I want to ask you is,
Mhm.
now we talked about standards, we talked about expectations. Now, the Lakers expectations, if you don't win the chip, it's a failure.
Mhm.
Um Now, you have so eloquently spoke throughout this throughout this conversation
Mhm.
about, okay, this player is not succeeding. Why? What is happening that he's not succeeding? Um
Mhm.
from your perspective, and I know, obviously that's fam, but you're also a Laker fan.
Mhm.
Like, from Cali, from
Mhm.
SoCal, you a Laker fan.
Mhm.
What what went wrong? What went like, because I could see where things went wrong on the Lakers side.
Mhm.
But why didn't it work?
Um. Well, real quick, I'll say this. A lot of people bring up the the transitions that he's happened since he left the Thunder. Um, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Every team that he has left or got traded for was not actually because, well, except for I can still even say the Lakers. It's not because of him. There's been other stuff going on with his um, management, or they've actually given the blessing for him to move on. Um, that's what it is. It was never because he's just a god awful player. Um,
Right.
organization respect him. Players deem him as one of the best there is in the history of the game. Um, so I think when me or even my cousin Ray, like when we get up in arms about stuff, it's not because we're just like, yeah, we're blood, but also factually,
The additional circumstance.
yeah, like a lot of stuff that was said on apps just wasn't true. And so for me, I think it was just a matter, I put it like this. Um when you get hired to work and they give you the expectations, or they give you, what it is, what we do here, and they know who you are, they know what type of employee you are.
Right.
Um, when that employer doesn't put you in the best situation to succeed, things are gonna go left.
So
The
I'll say this.
the employee's not gonna perform as well.
So I'll say this, right? So I'll say this now.
Mhm.
From a fan perspective, right? When the trade was made,
Mhm.
from a Laker perspective, it was just like, and no, from my perspective, it was just like, okay, yeah, okay, Russell Westbrook, okay, cool. That's it. It was a sexy name. Okay, it was like okay, you have AD, LeBron, Russ. Okay, but then it's just like, wait, hold on, LeBron, because LeBron didn't really get into his off ball mode until the playoffs.
Yep.
Okay, the off ball mode that we see in the playoffs, to the point that it's just like it was almost a shock to everyone's system. Even Draymond Green commented like, "Yo, you don't even know how to like respond to this." Now, that off ball LeBron is not around in the what is it, in the year and the year and a half that Russ was on the team.
Us. I have to combat a little bit. We saw flashes. We saw, to me, a decent amount of flashes coming from a LeBron.
I'll say this. I think there were flashes, but at the same time, that team struggled with spacing a lot.
Period.
And
very true.
Fair enough.
The thing that fell to the ground that I hate that people keep faulting one player is they fault Russ for the lack of spacing. LeBron and even AD together when Russ on the floor.
Yeah.
Like there's no space. So
100%.
LeBron oftentimes did not play off ball. I'll be honest, like they play at two different speeds. And when you have those speeds going at it, and then you have comfort zones and comfort levels where LeBron likes the ball at, but then you have, Russ at the top of the key, who's a very downhill type of guy. It's Russ plays at a pace where it's like, if you move, I'm going to find you. Like, I'm going to find you. LeBron's method is give me the ball and stay there so I can kick it out to you. Like, there was certain philosophies that just, it wasn't allowed room to grow. There was just other things that just affected, I'll put it like this, it affected the employee's performance. When, there's meetings, there's different things happening around the stuff behind the scenes. It affects what you do on the court. And, people have voiced like, oh, these excuses. You can't explain the notorious one. You can't explain the bricks off the side of the backboard. No, I cannot actually. Like, yeah, of course. Like, he shot bricks. He shot poorly. But I can also explain the fact that he had tape on all 10 of his fingers while he was playing. Nobody didn't notice that. And if you notice when he was playing with the Clippers, he shot better because his hands were down naked. He had no tape. He was shooting freely. He was healthy. Like, some of the time during the Lakers tenure, he wasn't even healthy. So it's a lot of things that went into play. But I'll say this, that you cannot fault, and not just you, but just in general. There's a lot of stuff that has been said about how he handled certain things. Yeah. I can say that man has handled everything to the best of his ability, from starting to bench to being told one thing to be told. He's handled everything like a professional.
The vampire comment.
He has been. I'm gonna get there. He has been the one that has tried to have certain conversations with certain people, and they failed to talk to him. When it comes to the comment, I remember. I'll share this timeline because it's public. But there was a time where at the game, it was reported about this scuffle, right, between Russ and Ham during the halftime and all that stuff, right?
Right.
And people people made a big thing of it. Oh my God, Russ, he needs to go, and Russ starting fights and blah blah blah. And then, Lord and behold, the next day, Russ was in discussions for trade talks for, Minnesota, blah 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 blah. Then fast forward to, we're going to ship you off to Utah. And then that's when the vampire saga came. Like,
so explain that to me.
People,
That's new to me. What is the vampire thing?
So Dave McMenamin, Malika's boyfriend, came and pretty much he went on NBA Today.
Okay.
And this is before.
Okay, I think I remember.
This is before the whole Clippers situation.
Gotcha.
This is all that stuff. Literally, the so-called fight happened. There was no fight. There was no argument. That happened. The next day, a report comes. Trade talks. Trade deadline was coming up. It was actually on that day, I think. Trade deadline was coming up. Russ.
Excuse me, let me cut you off real quick, Cecil. So the quote, specifically verbatim from Dave, was, as one source told me, you remove a vampire from the locker room. So I do recall. But
right.
I recall now.
Dave made that comment. And I'll say it was to a point where it was like we were ready to roll out. Like, not only Dave was out of pocket for even saying that, two, who said it? If that's the case, like,
who's the source? We love to say source, but who's the source?
Dave provided no source, none, and actually got trolled a lot by even NBA players, current and past, on his page. Like, provide the source. There's integrity on the line here from both parties. And so the timeline of that little so-called argument to the trade deadline talks to now Dave on the day of the trade deadline special saying that, to now Russ being traded to Utah eventually. Right. That right there created a whole negative bubble
kind of cloud. Okay.
On that, like, that was the icing on the cake when it comes to Russ's reputation.
There was a period of time. There was a very short period of time around I guess before, it was around the time of the trade to Utah.
Yeah.
Where folks in the media were saying Russ might find himself out of the league. That's how bad it was getting, which was crazy. Which was crazy. And
we were on phones. We were on phones. We were on like, it got to the point where, and I can share this, like, we was on the phone, like, we was texting Chris Haynes, like, yo, is this true? He was like, no, man, don't believe that. Like, it was because I remember Woj reported it. And we were like, when this happened? When this fight
Where
happened?
is this coming from?
When this fight happened? We didn't, we was there? Yeah. Like, what? And
were you saying when did the Ham and Russ thing happen? Okay, gotcha.
And
so that's a fabricated story. At least is that what you're implying? Wow,
it's a very fabricated story. And I remember, there was a time where I was trolling heavy, on Twitter.
Oh, wait, no, it was like, wait, no, I will say this: there's a whole bunch, there's a couple group chats that I'm in, right? And then some folks would share a tweet that you put out, right, where you were trolling. And it was just like, wait, hold on.
Give me some. Give me some juice. I'm such an old head. I'm not in these loops. Give me some juice, please.
No.
Give me one good Cecil tweet.
Oh man, you know what?
A good one.
Okay, I don't have it verbatim, but there was a couple. There was times, right, when there was when there was a loss, like, pretty much, like, I'm just like paraphrasing, but pretty much.
Okay.
But after the trade deadline, right? If the Lakers lost, we knew here comes Cecil. Like, oh yeah, but Russ is the problem, right?
Right.
Like, Russ is the problem, and it was just like, yo, can't stand that motherfucker. Like,
I used to laugh too, though. Right? We deserved it. The Lakers fans deserved it just a little bit.
Well, Cecil. I want to ask you this question.
Yeah.
Okay. Because a couple because a couple of things. I think with Russ, one of the things where, first of all, look, these owners are billionaires. Okay, these owners are billionaires, and they can own the team for 50, 60 years, go across multiple generations, and make an endless amount of money. Players, they got a window and opportunity. Make your paper. I'm all for it. I think with Russ, he was always getting judged. He was always getting judged by the salary. And when folks were like, oh, well, the salary
Oh,
is why we have no depth. The salary is why, mind you, he's not the only person making that type of paper
Yeah.
on the team. But
Yeah.
for Russ's thing, with Russ, it was like, oh, well, he, his salary would lead to so much depth. So it's like he was always getting like held up to his salary,
Yeah.
which in a lot of ways is unfair. But I want to add, but you could also make the argument that from a Laker perspective, considering the
Mhm.
players that Russ that the Lakers gave up to get Russ and
Uh-huh.
the draft picks, and then the fact that the two different speeds, like you
Mhm.
alluded to, and then even the fact that certain players weren't playing off ball yet. Did the
I
Lakers
mean,
put Did the
and
Lakers put Russ
the
in a
other perspective
situation to
is look at
succeed?
who Russ was. No, there's no slight to the players he played with. Some of them, my boys, like
Of course.
no, no disrespect, but it's
No
just like
disrespect. No
look
disrespect.
at what you put around Russ. Like a lot
Right.
of
That's
people
what
have
Rebel
clumped.
was alluding to.
A lot of people have clumped Russ with. Oh, you played with. Rebel. Look at this lineup. Well, look at Russ, the top 75 player. That look at the players you put around him during that tenure, during that time. Like, okay, we're complaining about the contract and his poor performance, all this stuff. Okay, sure, I guess there's some validity to it, but seeing how he used to play and seeing all these other teams, we know how he rolls. So why would you put said player around him in this certain game situation or whatever situation it came
Yes.
about? Like, why would you do that? You know what I'm saying? And
But
so
he agreed
there's
to it too. It's like, it's two
but
sides to it.
he agreed to it because you have to. Like, what choice
Do you?
do you have?
Do you? Dame said straight up he's not coming here to play with us. He made the choice to you know, come play with, those two superstars who honestly
Right.
just don't work for his game. And
Because
okay, go ahead.
he came, one, because he wanted to come home, number one. But
Okay,
two,
that's true.
he came because of the fact that if an employer and the people there say, hey man, we want you. We gonna do this.
Fair enough.
We gonna do all this stuff. And I
Fair
see
enough.
none of that.
It's like, fuck.
Not a nair, not a hit, not hit,
What
no
can you
air.
do?
What do you
Yeah,
want me to do now? Now I'm put in
I get
positions where I have to play because obviously I'm a professional. This is my job. I gotta play.
for
Oh,
sure.
you put me to the bench now? Oh, dang, I didn't know that. I thought I was stuck. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many things that unfolded that it really wasn't in his control, because now what has happened during that time is not only I have to just do what I gotta do, but now my rep is tarnished because nobody's vouched for me.
Mm,
Nobody vouched for me. The
mm.
media was taking AK-47s at his reputation,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and nobody vouched for me except maybe one player, and that was JTA. Like, that's the perspective I need people to like actually understand. Like, when the
Yeah.
media was going at him, when he had a bad game, and um you had journalists, you had media, you had fans, all this stuff. Nobody came to his defense. Hell, you had players wanting Kyrie right in front of his face.
Yeah.
Well,
Players wanting Kyrie right in front of his face. And you expect him to perform at a decent level?
Yeah.
yeah, that's.
That doesn't make sense to me as
But
a
what I will say,
I
professional.
get
I will say this. I was when the rumors when Joe Tsai Nets owner said, okay, we're going to trade Kyrie.
Mhm.
There was quite a level of openness to
Rebel.
from the players in wanting Kyrie,
He's trying to
and
put it as lightly as
I put
possible.
it out. They were the players on some of the Laker players were pretty open in their desire to get Kyrie,
Look,
which is
we
just
want Kyrie.
and it's just like, how could you look? How could
Yeah.
you look a person? It's like at that point, it's like it just seemed
Yeah.
like the relationships were like inevitable because it's like, man, you really because you already know the only way you're gonna get Kyrie is if you make this move. You can't
Yeah.
get him by switch by getting rid of Max Christie or anyone else. No, you're gonna need this contract to get him. And you openly saying, "Yo, we want to get Kyrie."
Yeah.
That seemed odd. But I'm gonna ask you this.
Yeah.
Like I say, it's a unique situation
Mm-hmm.
because I think in a lot of ways, I want to say the Westbrook camp.
Mm-hmm.
You guys were like, even what you were saying about Chris Haynes and hitting him up and say, "Yo,
Mm-hmm.
is this true?" It seemed like you guys were fighting a war on different fronts. You had you had
I
toxic
said
folks.
that for sure.
You had media.
Yeah.
You had toxic folks on Twitter saying
Yeah.
all types of shit, and even to the point where I know Russ said it in several like post game interviews when it's just like, "Yo, this is also affecting the kids, his kids,
Yeah.
because of
His
what
family in general.
what
Wife
classmates are saying, wives too." Where was it? Like, where was like what was the worst part? What area was it? The media part? Was it the fans part? Because mind you, because you said Russ want to come home, so meaning kids are going to school in within the area.
Yeah.
He's
Right.
living in the area. He's back home.
Yeah.
Where was it the worst?
I think it got to a point where his kids just couldn't go to the games. Like,
Yeah. I remember he mentioned that.
You hear, and this is where I don't really on the app. People make fun of the name and even my name, like, but it's just I don't make fun of people's names. Like,
Right.
people use that as like a thing, like they say, "Oh, it's no big deal," but no, it is a big deal because if I'm telling you, "Hey, don't call me that," this is the correct way to call me that, and you steadily do that, now you're crossing the line. That's a line of disrespect now. And when now you're calling me Westbrook and I have to hear about it, and then you have media people calling me that, one, that's disrespectful to me. That's not my government name. That's not the name my mom and dad birthed me with. And so for y'all to think that's just like, ha ha, he, oh, no big deal, we're just playing. No, that's not a joke. That's not a joke. Because you wouldn't do it to yourself. You wouldn't do it to your friends. You wouldn't do it to your daughter, your son, whatever. But the moment also was now when people know you as, they think they know you as that name. So they come up to his wife, come up to me, come up to the kids and be like, Westbrook. And be like, no, his name is Westbrook.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know his name was actually Westbrook. Oh,
yeah.
What?
It's like, really? Yeah, I get that 100%.
It's gotten to a point where for them, it was like, you can't even go to the games because of how hostile it was. The name calling, the threats, death threats that we've all received.
Which is sick.
I've received death threats. My cousin Ray has received death threats. I've gotten pictures of them looking up past pictures of myself or past pictures of Ray, made fun of them, made fun of those pictures. I've had I've seen people like create group chats, to talk crazy. I've seen it. I've seen it all. I've seen spaces where I just want to come in and just speak,
vibe out. Yeah,
I'm,
be a fan too.
I'm one of them. And I've had people like use me, excuse me, try to use me as clickbait, I guess, to talk trash about
I have seen that. I have seen that.
Or
I have seen that.
Or I would come in and they'll be like, well, he's not a Westbrook, so fuck him. I don't care about his opinion. And it was just like, huh? Like, so just because we don't share the last,
I'm just a basketball fan too.
Like, I'm just a fan, just like y'all.
Yeah.
Like, y'all don't need to know my business or who I'm connected to. I just want to talk about.
Man, you know what? See, I will say this: we've been having this conversation for exactly an hour and a half.
Yeah,
and you know what? Please, at some point, like maybe like throughout the season, we'll have to bring you back because this has been it's been eye opening. It's been eye opening because you know what?
For sure.
I work my background is in concerts in like tour management. So the connections that I have is like on the music side, knowing that you know what, this guy is performing on stage and he just got word that he just got served divorce papers, and he's still going to put on this 2-hour show, or just like or this guy is about to go on stage and he just passed a kidney stone, which whoa, okay. So I've seen it and I understood. And and this like with social media, I have said things I shouldn't have, or just or not even saying that what, words do matter, and it does.
I gotta chill a little bit.
I've seen it all so much on even on Twitter and all apps. Like I spend 90% of my time scrolling because I can't tweet. Like, you know what I mean? Like I can't share certain
and you should
things,
be able to.
because it gets
like
circled
like
back.
you're fighting with you're fighting with one arm behind
it gets
behind
circled
your back.
and then there's some things that I just can't share because like anytime there's excuse me, anytime there's a trade, anytime there's NBA summer offseason, anything, my DMs get blown up because they believe Cecil knows because of his connections. And it's just like, I can't tell you. Like I said, there's only so much I can share. You know what I'm saying?
It's time to get an effective burner, Cecil.
Yeah, man. I did, and Elon Musk took it.
Damn.
So it's
no, I want you to be able to enjoy the discourse too. Why not?
Like
You're a fan, like you said.
Like right now as we speak, like this whole James Harden saga is insane. So it's just, hey, I see it all. And I'm not being cocky. I'm not gonna say I know it all in a cocky way, but it's like a lot of stuff that
you've seen it on every side, the journalist side,
so I've heard the worst. I've seen the worst done to me, to my family, and so it is what it is. I think all I can say is that we've tried to represent ourselves well. He has tried to represent himself well. He's done nothing out of pocket, nothing out of character, and he's in a good place now. You know what I'm saying? And so, because of the fact that he's held his own.
So Cecil, I want to ask you this question as we wrap up this conversation. Like I said, it's been a dope conversation. What would, as a person who grew up a Laker fan, right? Excuse the dogs in the background.
You're good.
So, as a person who grew up, you're born in Southern Cal, you grew up a Laker fan.
Yeah,
you've experienced having a family member play for the Lakers, and you got to unfortunately you got to experience the wrath of Laker Nation, quote unquote. What would you say? What would be your message to Laker fans when it comes to how they speak about players? Because we're fans of the team, we're fans of the purple and gold. What would be your message to Laker fans that are online, at games, whatever?
Good question. I think the one thing I'll say to Laker fans honestly is keep loving your team. Honestly, like they love their team, man. Like they love their team. They'll ride or die for them. I think one of the negatives though that I've, even before when Russ came, that I've always seen was as Laker fans are spoiled, in my opinion, just because we're so used to greatness.
Absolutely.
So used to it. We're used to the big splashes. We're used to the big names. Laker fans cannot handle rebuild. They cannot handle it. It is like it's an itch. Like they would just want to get it real so bad. And so I think the downside of sometimes being a Laker fan is those down years or down games, stretch of games, and it's just I hope that Laker fans can handle it better without feeling how can I say, like, without feeling like they have to take digs or feel like they have to now banish the player from conversations or anything like that, when really sometimes it's all about adjustment. Sometimes there's other intent, like I said earlier, there's other intangibles that factor into the game. And so I think as a whole, yeah, I'm trying to debate on. I'm circling things of what I can say and cannot.
Of course.
But it's just
deep down, it's like, "F you guys, get better,"
Yes.
you know. But
one thing I say, I think going forward, because I think this is still fresh, this whole little transition, this thing. I just want Laker fans to be better on how they critique the game and how. And this is not what I'm not saying. I'm not saying Laker fans don't know how to critique the game. I'm not saying Laker fans don't know how to watch the game or anything like that. I just know from a Laker fan base, generally speaking, when it comes to assessing the game without being so personal and so vitriol and all that, that is a habit that Laker fans tend to do. Even all the way down to Lakers media. Like I'm on the record to say, like, Lakers media, I can honestly say, has to do a better job of covering their team, a lot better. Because there's too many times where they leave players out to dry and there's no protection, there's no safety. And I don't know if that's because of the standard and because of all the championships that the Lakers have won, so they just hold them there. But the safety net of protecting your assets is not necessarily always there. Because, again, I can speak from that experience. Like when Russ came to the Clippers, everybody loved him. Not because of anything on do on the court, but because of who he is as a person. Media, when I tell you we was almost blown to tears the first night of that Clipper game versus Sacramento, that crazy game, triple overtime. It was because, yes, the crowd was welcoming, but the Clippers reporters, the media, they did a great job and still do of protecting the players. They don't write up articles in a way that will leave openings for useless critique amongst fans. But they just did a great job, and they're constantly like, and even in connection with me, like, hey, is this okay to tweet this? Like, it's just a respect level that they have that is one of the reasons why he chose to stay home again.
So we divas over here. Woo, we got to get that.
I mean, if I can, and this is not it's honestly not no slight. It's just it's the truth. It's there's facts there. Like, because of that mentality that Laker fans have, like, we are the it gang, we're the mean girls in the league. It presents, and that, I mean, that could be another conversation on why a lot of GMs don't like working with operations, like operations, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many things that trickle down from actual employees all the way to the fan base that I feel like it could be a lot better in the future, so that way more trades can happen that can be more smooth, more fans can be welcomed into the community, players can actually, certain players can possibly have longer tenures there because of certain management, stuff like that. Because back in the day, Laker players used to have long tenures because of the enjoyment factor. There was a safety net there. And now I feel like they're still in transition with that, starting from the top with Genie. But I think they're trying to get to that place. It's just certain things, I'll say this, there's certain things that just has to get out the way. And that's all.
Understood.
Very fair. Very fair.
What has been one last question? What has been you brought up that first game with the Clippers. What has been the difference between obviously it's a smaller sample size.
Yeah.
What has been the difference between the Clipper fan base and the Laker fan base?
Clipper fan base has a lot of as much. So here's the contrast. Laker fans are so used to winning. So
And wait, hold on, real quick. I got to say this
Yeah.
because this is, our platform is Purple and Gold
Yeah.
Mines. So when
Yeah.
I say when I say the Clipper fan base,
Mhm.
all seven of them. What has been the difference?
See, that's why they say you're a hater, Rebel.
Yes.
That's why they say you're a
Exactly.
hater.
Hey, gotta stay true to path.
For the record, there is way more Clipper fans.
Okay.
Because there's some idiot over there looking for all
Right.
7 of them right now.
Right.
Yeah, hey, shout out to Dime Trapper. Shout out to Dime Trapper.
I think Laker fans are so used to winning that, like I said before, like losing is like there's no process of grief. They don't know how to handle that well.
Right.
Clippers have lost so much that it's like when they win.
Sorry, I don't know why this is so funny to me.
When they win, it's like, we won.
That was cool.
But it's like, oh my God, like, hello, like we won. You know what I'm saying? And I think with the fan base, all in all, though, it's the Clipper fan base is actually really a great community. There's not too many like harshness, if you will. Again, this Clipper franchise has been on the downside of things for so long and a lot of years. So sometimes that community, there's nothing to be at odds about. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're here, like we're in this together. This is where we're at. And I think through that, though, there is a level of safety. There's a level of camaraderie. I think Clipper fan base don't necessarily. I'm saying they don't pay attention all the time to player performances like that. They do, but in the breath of, I guess, that same aggression, like, oh my God, he had a trash game, and he like, it's not on that type of level. They acknowledge the bad game, but they also acknowledge what that person did do, if he did anything else. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think the Clipper fan base, there is a great community, but I think it starts from, and again, it goes back to the conversation earlier as far as like, for me, when I said like the whole reflection thing, like players, fan base kind of reflect the players. I also feel like the fan base reflects how the team is ran. Like, that's another factor to me. I think the way Ballmer handles stuff, the way Lawrence Frank, Ty Lue, Dante Jones, like, it's just, those are the type of guys, honestly, that they're chill. They don't bother nobody like that. They mean business. And I will say Clippers are very honest. When they got there, and this is not a slight towards anybody. It's just they were honest from the get-go. They just wanted Russ to be Russ. And a lot of people don't know what that means. But for them, it was more so of like,
what does it mean?
Don't worry about making or missing. Don't worry about having a bad game. Just wherever you contribute, it'll help us regardless. Russ is Russ is a Swiss Army knife when it comes to, he can literally, and we saw it against Phoenix, have the worst shooting performance,
and
but yet
find a way to
impact that whole game because of him. Like, it's a gift, and take reward, whatever you want to call it. But you have to be able to accept the fact that, is he going to have great games? No. But the one thing you'll always get out of Russ is he will find a way to impact that game.
That effort and that availability.
He will find a way. If he shoots the game that he had against Memphis, if he had 36 points, or if he had a game against Phoenix where he's 3 for 19, he's going to impact the game no matter what, if you let him.
Somehow, some way.
If you allow him to do that. And that is what the Clippers have done. You put him in position to impact the game. And if he doesn't have a bad, I mean, if he has a bad game, that team rallies around him and they acknowledge him as a leader of the team, And so I think the one thing that they have done, and not just with Russ, they did it with Bones Highland when Bones Highland got there. They told him flat out, "Hey man, you're not gonna get that many minutes to start out. You have to figure your way out, and eventually you'll get more minutes, but you're not gonna play as much because Russ is here." And that type of honesty, fans don't realize. Players respect that. They'd rather have a coach to tell them, "Hey man, you're not gonna get that many minutes," than for somebody to say, "Yeah, we're gonna play you," but then you still kind of looking down at the sideline at the coach, like, "You gonna put me in?" Like, players respect that. Yeah, players respect that, and I think with Ty Lue all the way up, I think there's a level of honesty that players respect, and win, lose or draw, like they'll go with that. They'll go from there because you were honest, and I can respect that.
Appreciate it. Okay, so you know what, so Cecil, man, Matt, you're so gracious with your time. Been here hour and 46 minutes. I know you've been having a busy summer. What are you working on? What you got cooking?
Well, I just got done hosting like a content creative weekend. So I hosted a bunch of content creators across the nation. They flew out here to LA, and so we rented out an Airbnb, and I helped them brainstorm. We connected, we networked, and we got a lot of content done. And so going forward, we're actually going to make this a thing, going city to city. Next year, we're going to be in DC, and so it's going to be a huge 3-day, like a summit, if you will, of
Nice.
we'll have workshops, we'll have a mixer, and we'll also be hosting a brunch for people that are still there. And so we're going to take the city to city. We're going to have we're going to be in a what we call a fun house, content house that my boy built down there in DC. And so we're doing that. I'm a man of many things. So I'm a creative director. I'm a barber of 12 years. I help with brands. I help with marketing with certain companies. And I'm also a writer. So I'm doing a lot right now. So, but that's the main thing, is that, we're building up to that summit, and also Honor the Gift with their marketing shop. Go Cop.
Nice.
There's some amazing stuff dropping.
Absolutely.
So we're staying busy until the NBA season.
Good,
Awesome.
good. Well, you know what? Thank you, man. I've been looking forward to this conversation. Thank you for agreeing to join us, and
No
let's
problem.
let's not make this a one-time thing. So shout
For
out
sure.
to you, Cecil. You can follow him on Twitter at C Will Poetry, the letter C Will Poetry. And so salute to you, brother, and
Salute
thank you,
to you
man.
guys. Yeah, no
Salute to
problem.
you.
Good to have.
Peace.
My boy, I got an inhaler and a couple cases of water on deck for you. You was suffering today. I don't know what's in the air over there.
Man,
we got to get you
I
right.
haven't talked this much in a long time.
I feel you. That's exactly what I thought. I feel you though.
So
I'm just
no, I
teasing.
appreciate you guys having me on.
For sure.
I love what you guys have going on, and like I always tell people, be consistent and do what you do, man, and good things will happen. So appreciate you guys having me.
Wow. That conversation was dope as fuck. I can't lie. I didn't know it was gonna last that long. But salute to Cecil for rolling through. Um, one thing one thing that I appreciated, and I knew it would be a good conversation just because of that unique perspective. Growing up a Laker fan, having a cousin, having Russell Westbrook as a cousin who, is not only a player in the league, but like a player that is polarizing. And even rooting for a team that root your hometown team that you grew up loving. Now, that relationship is somewhat complicated. Tone, what did you think of the convo?
Like I even shared with KB offline, like you said, that insight from a journalistic and content creator perspective from someone who has attachments to some circles maybe that we can't necessarily get into, and then from a fan's perspective, and like I alluded to during that conversation, it's like if you're not that delusional and you can take time to listen and open and broaden your perspective, yes, like I said, the insight he gave was really good. And I'll be completely candid. I even was telling KB when I first kind of got into the, I guess what you would say, the NBA Twitter circles, from the outside listening in, I wasn't maybe necessarily a fan of Cecil. I didn't really know him. All I knew him was as a Russell defender. And in my mind, it's like, okay, on this team, he doesn't necessarily fit and he takes up a lot of our cap room. That's all I knew. So I just couldn't understand, why. And it's not like he had a defensive personality. It's just like, why are you caping for this guy? You know what I'm saying? But again, like I said, when you really listen and when you deep dive into it, again, anyone who's willing to learn and knows how to have a normal conversation with someone, I really enjoyed it too. Top tier. We could have went on for hours. I didn't even realize it was already damn near 2 hours. We were talking even offline. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely fun. And again, like I said, from a fan's perspective, if we could have more conversations like this and not the chaotic or toxic ones, maybe, players and other fans alike wouldn't poo-poo and shit on athletic or sports discourse in general.
Exactly. I agree with what Tony's saying. I'm sorry to even interrupt, Zen. I'm just
go ahead.
I just wanted to say this. I am pissed I missed out on that conversation y'all had with him, but I am glad.
Oh no, you went out a little bit, KB, but no worries. He'll be back, and hopefully we can open the floor more. Once the whole team comes around and stuff. I don't know what's up with StreamYard. They don't. We've been going StreamYard. They don't want to see us win right now.
It's just me. It's probably my connection. I got a hardwired in. But go ahead, Zen. I'm gonna see what I got to say.
No. You know what? The thing with the conversation that I liked, like, look, I made it. Was not ducking the smoke. That's one thing we're not going to ever do on this podcast is duck the smoke. But I love that you can have discourse with someone and it can be respectful. You can have a conversation where someone say, yo, you know what, man, I didn't like that shit that you said. And we can like sit down and, like I made that comment about Russ being, mildew of the NBA. I said it in jest. I said it as a joke. That
was so funny.
Hey. And that's the point. I said it to be funny. I know what the brother is doing in the community and continue to do, and
even on the court per se.
Even on the court. Yeah. So it's just like for Cecil to have to be willing to come on our podcast and be open and give different perspectives. Salute to him. And he'll definitely be back at some point.
For sure.
We always want to have like good conversations. So because at the end of the day, he's still a Laker fan.
Exactly.
No, I was just about to say, actually, he's now technically our rival fan.
Clipper fan.
Technically. He's figuring it out.
I think, and Tone, I just wanted to say I was actually on the same boat as you. Like I was like, who is this guy defending Russ? But once I learned his cousin, like maybe he has an ulterior motive, but he doesn't.
Right.
Like Cecil's a real dude, and he comes from he comes from a respectable place with it, and he does it. He's not a fan stan, you know what I mean? So he keeps it real, and I honor everything. I honor that and respect that. So I'll leave it there.
There you go. Well, before we close out every episode, like how we did it last week, we're going to continue doing it. We talk about what we're watching. And I guess now what we're watching holds a different weight, considering that, this time last week when we were recording episode 1, only the writers were on strike. And they've been on strike for probably 4 or 5 weeks now. and just that alone shut down several productions because of the writers. Now the actors are
Have
striking.
followed suit,
They
right?
have followed suit, and mind you, this is they're not joining the writers. This is something that people don't get it confused, folks. They're not joining the writers. The the union, the SAG AFTRA union, they have their own issues, and they were like, "No, we're
Mm,
striking." What makes it
wow.
worse, folks, is that there's also the Directors Guild, and the Directors Guild could be joining as well because they have their own
Wow.
issues. And it's one of those things that because I'm aspiring to be a screenwriter. I have something I been writing, a
Wow,
series
that's
that
so
I've been watching,
awesome.
and so now when my scripts, anytime I finish a script, I register it with the Writers Guild. So I'm not a member of the Writers Guild, but I pay a fee to get my script registered, so it's protected, and so I keep up with them. But the things that's going on with the studios is that this is like a generational thing, because so like when the writers had a strike in like '06, '07, around there, like no, '07, '08, like it was about like it was about like the beginning of like streaming services, and like or like DVD sales. That was it. It was like DVD sales, and how they're going to get royalties from there. And even like the history of the writer strike, anytime that they had a strike, something significant came out of it. So if it was about how royalties were going to get paid for cable television, um, health insurance for writers, royalties for shows that are streaming.
Yeah.
Now it's like, hey, they're dealing with the streaming, but now they're also dealing with the AI, because now you have the studios that are like, hey, we can get AI. We can just have AI write scripts, which this is the type of shit that we saw in movies years ago, where
Yeah.
robots would replace us. But yeah, it's a whole thing. But hey, folks, I got some sad news. Abbott Elementary, because I look, I love Abbott Elementary.
What happened?
Love Abbott
Wow.
Elementary ain't coming back for a while.
So
They
many.
Here's a fucked up part. The day
Hold on. What
before the strike,
happened?
right? The strike.
The strike. That's why it's not coming back for a while.
This is how,
Yeah.
okay, KB. This is how. But let me tell you. Let me. Oh, you're about to cry. Let me make you cry.
Oh my gosh.
So you saw that picture I put in the group chat of Hugh Jackman
Yep,
finally
that's the one I
wearing
was about to relate to.
the
Yep.
yellow Wolverine.
Yeah.
The very next day the strike began. So Hugh Jackman was not. I was watching Wimbledon this morning, the championship, men's
Okay.
championship. Hugh Jackman was in the stands. He was supposed to be
Mm.
filming Deadpool 3, but now that
Right.
all the actors are striking,
Production has ceased.
all production has ended. I mean, there's nothing. It's to the
Go home,
point where
everybody.
the actors are not even. They're not doing Comic Con in San Diego. That was this
Wow.
past weekend, so they're not doing
Crap.
Comic Con. They're also, this is how bad it is. They're also not tweeting, like no art, no like actors from like a TV show. They're not doing any live tweeting while they're on the strike.
Mhm.
So they're not promoting shows through social media.
Right.
They are doing nothing,
Right.
nothing. Nothing is happening. So all the shows that's supposed to be filming now, Abbott Elementary, uh, yeah, whatever show that you like, if it's Law and Order, SV, if
Yeah.
it's SVU, um, Grey's Anatomy, whatever show that you like,
Most likely
that
stop production.
you, we're gonna be what, like, what all the stuff. Now is the time. Whatever is on your watch list
Hmm.
on whatever streaming service. Now is the time to start
Might as well
knocking it
catch
out,
up.
because You ain't gonna be getting anything new. Like any shows that comes, like for instance, I know in September, 1st of September, I'm looking forward to it. Power Book Force. I'm a big Power fan. That show is going to get released, but all the episodes were already filmed before the strike.
Right.
Um, but
may I ask what is Power Book 4 about? Is it Tommy? Oh, okay. Will this be the second season of his show?
Second season of his show, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yep. So it's about Tommy. The first season was dope. Was crazy.
I gotta watch
it. But Tone, what are you watching?
What am I watching? Oh, so ironically, I just started Quarterback, the Netflix series about Kirk Cousins, Marcus Mariota, and Patty.
Yeah.
And I've been I'm a very strange individual. Don't ask me why, but I just started playing semi-pro women's tackle football for the Miami Fury.
That's dope.
You see these guns here? I put them to use once in a blue moon. So watching that, already playing this season, kind of just opened my mind and my heart so much for football, a lot more. Football was actually my first love. And then I kind of just fell into basketball. But like I said, playing this year and segueing back to the show, oh my God, I don't even know what to say. I'm just naturally an emotional person, even when I watch basketball too. So even like going back to the Cecil conversation, I'm that type of fan. I am such an emotional fan. Before the X's and O's, before what happens inside the lines, it's all emotion for me. I am the type of woman, a really good play is going to bring me to tears. I'm talking about tears like I'm at a funeral. So just watching Quarterback, especially, oh my God, a guy I used to love to make fun of is Kirk Cousins. But watching, and I'm only on like the third episode, but watching that show just gives you such a deep insight to what these athletes go through on a daily basis, mentally, physically, emotionally, either their families, like I said, their bodies.
You're talking about the quarterback movie thing. Okay, on
series
Netflix.
On Netflix, right?
I'm actually gonna watch an episode after we're done with this. So
you got to. It's so good. And I started getting high on Patty ever since I'm not even gonna say he won this Super Bowl. And mind you, they're gonna highlight the play I'm about to refer to. This play, he just spins out of a tackle and just like, I don't even know what to call this kind of pass. Just a little pass that I think, if it wasn't Kadarius Toney, something McKinnon for a touchdown. I fell in love with that dude. And like I said, just watching this show, watching how he goes about his day-to-day grind, how he interacts with his opponents, his team, him as a leader. He's not even 30 years old yet. What is this? His 5th, 6th year in the league. It's amazing. But I'm not much of a TV head. I watch a lot of reruns. So for me to pick up something and I actually catch on to it, because it takes a lot to really invoke like my attention. To me, it's good. And like I said, I'm only on the 3rd episode. I think it's 8 episodes in total. I can't wait till hopefully they do it for all positions. More quarterbacks. Like in my mind, I kept thinking, I'm like, I love too the dynamic that they have. They have Patty, who's winning on the highest level. They have Kirk, who's pretty much like a seasoned vet, but he's kind of been a little up and down. And they have Marcus. Marcus's career hasn't necessarily fared well so far. So I can't wait to see, maybe they mix it up, having Josh Allen, Geno Smith, and maybe like, I don't know, Derek Carr. To me, that's another rerun of what they just did this season. And like I said, open it to other positions in the league. Like I said, that's a good one. I just finished Snowfall 2 recently. Finally watched the 6th season. Most of the time, I don't like to really follow the hype up a lot of these shows. I like to let the hype die down. I'll watch it 2 years, 3 years after it's finished filming and stuff. But that show right there, oh my God, there's so many things you can take away from it. Wanda is a villain. Franklin is a villain. I don't even know where to turn. But I would say those are the two right now.
I'm gonna say this. And I've said this before in spaces. And I say this with all the love and respect to my mother who gave me life.
Women are evil.
You would have got one to the head. And yes, that is me, Born Rebel, saying saying that I would have shot my mother. It would have been it would I wouldn't it would just would have been just so quick. It's like instinct. It's like, can you imagine, like it would have been one of those things, like, you know, if a bee sting you and you just like slap, like trying to slap it away from you, it just would have been just bomb.
A reactionary. I
Like
get it.
yeah. So
But Rebel, you have to see the bigger picture is that money turned that boy up. He was no longer the same man for a long time. By the time season 4 came around, he was no longer the same boy she raised. So I think in the same breath, she was getting revenge for her ex-husband. She was kind of taking a stance on already what the CI did to taint her community and America itself. At the end of the day, I'm also going to teach you a lesson, Franklin. I don't know what hold this money has on you, but now you don't have anything. You ain't got your mama, you ain't got your family, and you damn sure ain't got the money, boy.
I guess she got
Tough
what she
lesson to
wanted.
learn.
I
but-
guess in the last scene, she got what she wanted. That's
Yeah.
what she wanted. Yeah.
No regrets.
Sorry, mama. Sorry.
Said, I'm sorry, mama.
Yeah.
I never meant to hurt.
It would have just been pound one shot. Nope. Right between the eye. Boom. Sorry. You can't but yeah, KB, I know you I know you had some questions about the strikes and stuff, but yeah, what questions you had about the strikes and what's going
Well,
on?
KB, tell us what you're watching first and how
Absolutely.
stopping production is going to affect you now.
Yeah, exactly. KB, you here?
I'm right here. That's why I missed it because it went in and out. But I actually had a question for you. Did you ask me a question? That's what I need to find out because I went in and out.
No.
I wanted to know what you were watching first before your questions about the strike.
Got you. So what I'm currently trying to catch up on is, I know a lot of people aren't really a big fan of the old school movies, but I am. Karate Kid. I'm literally rewatching all of those movies. I'm on the third one right now. Gonna watch the one with Hilary Swank, I think, tomorrow. But I'm getting back to watching Cobra Kai because I stopped watching it.
No.
Yeah.
Wait, the older one or the one they have like a little kid one on Netflix or something like that?
Yeah, that's the one I'm watching. I'm watching Cobra Kai, which is that one. But then I was watching the older flicks back from like the 80s that made Daniel Russo, LaRusso know what he was. But just watching Cobra Kai, I like that. And then also I was going to say, when you're talking about the strikes when it comes down to it, I was already pissed because I learned that the dude who's supposed to play as Blade, he ended up not being the main character anymore. So that yeah, I heard he stepped down.
Mahershala Ali. No.
Yeah, he stepped down.
Really?
Yeah, he stepped down. He said he no longer is the main character anymore.
Wow.
And I don't know if that's because of the strike or whatnot, but I was pissed off when he said he wasn't gonna be the main guy. I'm like, fuck.
And he gives me that Wesley Snipes resemblance so much.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he would have nailed it.
I don't know what other dude you can get that can do what Wesley Snipes did that guy could not do. So that's why I don't know who they're gonna replace him with, but it better be good.
Yeah.
Because the only other person I can think of that knows martial arts like that on point is Jay White, and he's way too old for that. So
good point.
And he already did Spawn, so I don't know.
Good point.
Yeah, we shall see how that we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, this strike is gonna affect a lot of stuff.
So my question with the strike is, how long do you think it's gonna go? For the whole year, or will it stop? Will they compromise?
Oh man, that one's tough to predict, but because we're talking about a lot of money.
That's what I'm saying.
A lot of money on the table, but it's one of those things where, because of this whole thing with AI, because one of the things that the union has an issue with is that the studios wanted to work out a thing where they'll say, hey, we'll pay you for 1 day of work, right? Whatever that rate will be, and allow us to do like the AI body scan and get your voice and all of that. And we could be able to use it for as long as we want, and you don't get any additional compensation for it. So that one's rough, that one's rough. And so so now you're kind of fighting against technology, but the thing is, no one is going to fight for you. You got to fight for yourself. And it's
Sure.
yeah, it's like, hey, how much are they willing to budge? But the biggest thing is, it's not just, it's as long as there's solidarity, you know uh that's the biggest thing. But yeah, you have all the big actors from George Clooney, Brad Pitt, all the big actors, Denzel. They're in solidarity. So
Yeah,
you
Brad
know
and Des. How do you pronounce his name? The young man from Snowfall, who plays Franklin's character.
Damson,
Idris.
oh my
I
god,
think so. Is it Idris?
I think it's
I think
Idris.
so.
yeah, Damsel, just it
Yeah,
just
they had
yeah.
like a film they were working on as well too that I believe production stopped for. They didn't finish.
All I
Yeah.
know is this: I'm glad that they finished Equalizer 3. At least I can enjoy that. Golly.
Yeah, but guess what?
So
So whenever let's say the strike is not let's say the strike, it has not ended by the time that movie is released. You
Yeah.
won't see Denzel doing any promo for it. You won't see them on the red
I get
carpet.
it.
Yeah.
Wow, I
Yeah.
get that. I get that.
Yeah.
Look, I'll say this: it might suck to say. I'm just glad the movie will be released.
Of
I
course.
But
understand
you'll
that.
know about it. People like me, I
Yeah.
didn't even know there was an Equalizer 3 coming out. I won't lie to you.
Oh man, I was praying for
Yep.
it to hurry up, and the best thing about it is like that a lot of people are saying. I think Zen already knows this. Is Denzel Washington did a movie by the name of Fireman with Dakota Fanning, and Dakota Fanning is
Man
actually
on
in
fire.
it.
Man on fire. Man on fire.
He thought it was a fireman. I'm like, I never heard of that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Man
no,
on
no,
fire.
Dakota. Yeah, Dakota Fanning is actually in Equalizer 3, so that's gonna
Yep.
be good.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. So they had a
Yep.
little chemistry before. Okay, I didn't even realize she was in Man
Yeah.
on Fire. Okay,
Just imagine you're working with someone who's like at the age of like 9 years old. Now she's like
I was just about to say
25, about to be
that.
like
20
30
something
years
years
old.
later. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's
exactly. That is
amazing.
pretty cool. That's pretty
It's
cool.
amazing.
See,
So
and that's the problem with Denzel not doing promotion because you just got me. You got me to buy in with your little
Yeah,
promo. You know what I'm
I'm just
mhm.
saying. Hey, look, this is
saying?
what I do. I always go on YouTube and look at like the movies that are coming out in the future. But
Coming
now
up,
when this,
yeah,
yeah, but now since the strike is happening, I don't know. I find it as being really
yeah.
disrespectful to the actors, saying that we'll pay an AI to do the work for you. We don't need you
It
anymore.
is. Can
That's
you?
weird to me.
Wow.
That's weird
Yep.
to
I can
me.
understand maybe if you want to say break glass in case of emergency. Sometimes actors got to step out for personal issues and maybe it
Or if an
delays
actor
filming stuff
die.
like
Or
that.
if an actor die.
Okay, that one too.
Paul
So the
Walker.
Paul
Paul
Walker,
Walker.
exactly. Paul
Exactly.
Yep.
Walker, that would have been perfect timing, and maybe they can sign something on the contract. Hey, in your passing, we're allowed to do X, Y, and Z. But the rate that this world is going, trying so hard to put everything on technology, and again, going back to our previous conversation, when we were offline, when we were talking about kind of like LeBron and his brand and this entity. I don't know. I'm that type of person. My personality tends to be kind of balanced. I try to see things on all sides of the spectrum. But it's like as the big man, which I feel like a lot of the actors, the writers, and et cetera, are alluding to is Hollywood itself as the I don't know the roof. It's
Right.
like at some point you have to budge. But at the same time, like even in mundane conversation, everyday day-to-day conversation, we always question why does this business do this? Or why does this store do this? Or, even our day-to-day jobs. I don't know if you guys work 9 to 5s. I work a 9 to 5. There's
Mhm.
always an employee complaining, oh, management does this or doesn't know how to do this or work effect and things of that nature. But when you're in those predicaments, when you're in those shoes, will you be able to remain this person that you're thinking you are now? You know what I'm saying? Do you
Exactly.
make those same decisions to benefit everyone else, especially as far as the bottom line is concerned? Sometimes, again, look, let's go. We can talk about that snowfall episode. Man, money is literally the root of all evil. When it
Mhm.
comes to this bottom
Man.
line, a lot of people humanity has no place, has no bearing here. All I know is I'm accustomed to a certain lifestyle, a certain amount of money that I'm getting consistently, and I can't change that for the betterment of anyone else's but mine and my family and generations to come. And you'll be
Right.
shocked to so many people who don't even think of their families and future generations. They literally are thinking of themselves. Do I have to give up the private jet tomorrow? Do I have to give up the Rolls, or can I not drive the Rolls Royce as often as I want to anymore? Or instead of 10 properties, oh my God, I can only have 7. That's unacceptable. You would be surprised. And like I said, let's all keep in mind, if you were there, can you promise yourself that you won't be that same person that we're complaining about? But I get it. Look, you guys make a lot of money. Like, for me to hear that, I thought it was a joke. I thought maybe it was the least main characters that are getting these $3 residual checks. It's your stars, your
Right.
main stars who put in a year's worth of work away from their families, losing themselves literally, emotionally, personally.
For
I remember.
decades. For
Thank you,
decades.
thank you. I remember. I don't remember the gentleman's name. Lakeith, and I don't remember his last name. He's played in. I remember. Oh, I wish I could remember. One of those, like back in the day type of pro black movies. He's also played in this. I don't know, little funny comedy. I wish I could remember these names. The computer's sitting right in front of me, but he even admitted
Oh,
one time,
Stansfield,
Lakeith
Lakeith
Stanfield.
Stansfield.
There you
Yeah.
go. So he was in Judas and the Black Messiah. He was in Atlanta. He was in Sorry to Bother You. But he was on a Breakfast Club interview maybe about 2 years ago, where he even admitted to needing therapy after the Judas role, because he just couldn't get out of the mode, like being paranoid as an FBI informant, things of that nature. And can you imagine this affects these people in their day-to-day lives? They're making a commitment to this art. Yes, they're in it for the money too. But I watched a Leslie Jones video, and she even said it too. I didn't break into this industry to see the type of money I see now until I was 47. And she's only been making that money for the last 10 years. Half of her life was already done by the time so what about the extras? One of my favorite podcasters, Lovely T, I'll give her a shout out. She's been an extra. She's talked on the Compton movie. Oh my God, my mind is so gone. It's late, guys. But the Compton movie, the documentary about NWA. She was an extra on set for 17 hours. You're an extra. You're nobody. She had to be there 17 hours for at least like 2 or 3 weeks. That's a lot. And for you guys to, kind of push these people to the side, I understand. At the same time, the business works like, okay, as a writer, you sell a script and that's it. So it makes me think, okay, what about in the real world? If I sell a piece of property, am I entitled to, a piece of the property tax moving on for the rest of my life? No, I mean, I don't think that. But when it comes to something like this, these type of jobs, I think it's ridiculous that these people are eating for decades at a time. You're seeing billions and millions of dollars, and you cut me a little $1 million check one time, and you're just going to keep profiting off of my likeness. That's inexcusable. So, I mean, something has to give. And as we can see now, the state of the world and America as it is now, if you're not going to listen to my regular pleas and protests and outcries and, a million signatures on a paper, we got to hit you where it hurts. And that's the bottom line. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm with you. Couldn't have said it better myself. That's it. That's the bottom line. And um, something does have to give. So, in solidarity with all the
Yeah.
writers in the strike, and
Yeah.
the actors, and like I said, as a person who's pursuing screenwriting, what they are fighting for now is something that I'm going to benefit from. So I'm in solidarity with
Amen.
them.
Amen.
And but yeah, I guess for me, what I'm watching, um, well, shit, I'm a little sad because on Wednesday is going to be the final episode of a show that I love, Mayans MC. Anyone that knows me, Sons of Anarchy is my favorite show of all time. I'm not going to say it's the best show, but Sons of Anarchy was the first show that I really like. I guess it was like the first show that really just stuck with me from an artistic level, and it was just like, man, that shit's dope. And So yeah, it's a spinoff of that. So that's the final episode. I've been really trying to kill my watch list on like across the different platforms. Been watching a lot of like the DC animated movies. On Paramount Plus, I've been watching like a lot of the old MTV challenges, which those actually hold up like well. Like it's really interesting. Like even like
They're
the
fun from time
prizes,
to time.
like they're like even like you watch like some of like the old challenges, and like some of the prizes for like a challenge would be like the T-Mobile sidekick. Like, oh shit, I haven't seen one of those in damn near 20 years. So it's like
That's why they're
it's
fun
one
to
of the,
watch for sure.
it never feels dated. Like it feels cool. So it's been a fun show to watch. There's a new documentary on Will Chamberlain that I want to watch on Showtime. It's streaming, so I'm gonna probably watch that in the next couple of days. But yeah,
Rebel, I do have a question for you. With this strike, are they allowed to, or will it lead to a lot more independent work? For instance, does this type of strike affect someone like Tyler Perry, who owns all his own studios? He damn near owns and produces all his own scripts, his movies, and everything is just his name is on everything. Does it affect someone like him?
absolutely, because
Wow. Okay.
he's still part of those guilds. Like he's still
Okay.
part of the Writers Guild. He's still part of the Actors Guild. The actors that he hire are a part of those guilds as well. So it's just one of those things where those unions, you just don't want to fuck up those unions. And a person like Tyler Perry, considering how he now owns a majority stake in like VH1 and BET, um, it's like he
BET is
doesn't
allegedly. I'm not sure.
allegedly. Okay, well,
Right.
he all of the actors that he hire are part of those unions. So
Gotcha.
yeah,
Okay.
so it's just like, but this, like I said, this thing runs deep, and it's not even just the actors; it's the catering companies that normally knows that,
Exactly.
hey, okay, so we know for the set of this movie, by 6 a.m. they need to have their 80 bagels,
Yeah.
and they guess what? You're no longer selling 80 bagels, so it
Yep.
goes deep.
Yeah. Oh man,
And a lot of folks are out
it's
of work right
crazy.
now. I went to I let me tell you, I went to I when I lived in Maryland, I moved to Maryland when or DC when there was a government shutdown. It was the when and it was a ghost town. I could imagine how LA is.
Wow.
A lot of folks are out of work. It's like
Interesting.
it'd be like a ghost town.
Like you
But
said,
you
it
know
runs
what?
deep.
It runs deep. It runs deep. But this was a fun one. This was a fun one. Got definitely had some dope conversations on here. Um, we'll see. We'll see. Who knows? Within the next week, are we going to fill that 14th roster spot? We shall see. But yeah, thank you for everyone who tuned in. Thank you to Tone for showing up
You
and
never have to
holding
thank
it
me.
down.
It's such a pleasure, and thank you so much for having me. It means so much to me, honestly.
Of course, of course. This is not a one-time thing,
Most definitely.
and to to our listeners, please like, subscribe, give us 5 stars, give us good ratings, all of that good stuff. It helps us grow, and we will be back next week for episode 3. Hopefully, there's a chance that LeBron might go back to number 6. Maybe he'll go to number
Oh
11. I don't
God.
know.
Listen to this
Maybe he wants
guy.
to honor. Maybe he wants to honor Maybe he wants to honor Dennis Rod. Maybe he wants to honor Dennis Rodman, and we're 91. Who knows? We shall see.
Oh
But
man.
Hater. Rebel
we are your
is the
purple and
hater,
gold.
guys. He's the definition of a
Of Yes,
hater.
I am. Yep, exactly. Well, we are the purple and gold minds, and we are signing out. Talk to you soon.